Eskom and the Mfuleni local municipality in Gauteng have urged residents of the municipal area to comply with a court order to pay for electricity directly to Eskom. They say some customers are violating the court order. The High Court in Pretoria handed down judgment 2 years ago after Eskom took the municipality to court for not paying revenue collected from customers. Gauteng Eskom spokesperson Amanda Kriti says they are concerned about defaulting customers.
While several customers have already complied with this requirement, it has come to our attention that some customers are still not making payments directly to Eskom. We urge these customers to make their electricity payments directly to the Eskom First National Bank account using their Mfuleni account number as the payment reference.
The Oliphants Kop Pass on the N10 between Paterson and Cookhouse in the Eastern Cape is closed to traffic after a truck carrying 3 elephants overturned at the pass. A motorist stuck in the traffic at the scene says he was told by a police officer that the truck was carrying the animals and they were requested to vacate the area for their own safety. Francois Erasmus says the animals were still inside the containers of the truck at the time he was at the scene. He says the road is completely blocked as the truck was lying on its side across the roadway. China's leadership is meeting in Beijing to announce measures designed to restore faith in the country's economy. This as the country faces an escalating trade war with the US. The BBC's Laura Bicker has the details.
Leaders gathering in Beijing are trying to send a message that they're confident the country's economy can grow, even after Donald Trump slapped tariffs on all Chinese goods heading to the United States. Mr. Li said the country would encourage more foreign investment, advance its high-tech industries, while also increasing its military spending. The annual National People's Congress is a tightly scripted piece of political theatre, but it does offer an insight into President Xi's vision for China's future.
Recapping the top story, Postbank CEO Nikki Mbengashe says they are confident that they will hit the 1 million mark of grant beneficiaries migrating to the Postbank Black Card within the next week. Senior officials from Postbank are appearing before Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Social Development to update MPs on the progress of this migration process. I'll be back with headlines at 3:30.
In sports this hour, New Zealand post 362 for 6 in their 50 overs against South Africa. Cardoso and Costa dominate Betway Premiership February monthly awards, and LeBron James passes 50k point milestone. More details at 3:30.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.6 FM in Kimberley.
Meet TJ, the magician. Well, he isn't quite the magician, but shame, let's call him that. The other day he tried to do that coin ear trick. Poor Owami is still in the hospital with a 5 rand coin stuck in his ear. He tried getting his pit bull, Mufasa, to levitate. Oh, he got that right. But now Mufasa is levitating through Tembisa, and somehow TJ forgot to read the section on how to get Mufasa back down. It's tough being a magician, but luckily for TJ, Britain's Got Talent Ultimate Magician will be the perfect inspiration for him to be the best magician in Tembisa. Catch Britain's Got Talent Ultimate Magician Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
The pressure is mounting in the second half of the league. Both SC Freiburg and RB Leipzig refuse to bow. They want to triumph to protect their top half positions. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Experience the German way of the beautiful game. Sporting Club Freiburg versus RB Leipzig on Saturday, 8 March at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Jazz lovers, the wait is over. Africa's grandest gathering returns on the 25th to the 26th of April at the Cape Town International Convention Center. Experience 2 nights of soul-stirring jazz, electrifying collaborations, and over 30 world-class artists across 4 iconic stages. Don't miss this unforgettable musical experience. Get your tickets now at ticketmaster.co.za. Brought to you by Independent Media, proud media partner of the Cape Town International Jazz Festival.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
And it certainly is the National Pulse, so welcome to the show, whether you are speaking or listening, in fact, whether it's in Cape Town or Caledon or something in between, welcome to the show. My name's Ashraf Garda. As always, whatever we talk about reflects what you and I both think collectively are the biggest issues that impacts the pulse of the nation, therefore the National Pulse. So today, what do you think? What moves the National Pulse? I'm happy to take your calls immediately. 086 000 2032, and then WhatsApp you can text or voice note us 0614 104 107 0614 104 107. I can tell you now, coming up in around 20 past 3, you know there's been this plan, the Arab plan, to try and repair the devastated or reconstruct the devastated Gaza region in Palestine. Well, we chat about that to Dr. Mustafa Barghouti, the president of the Palestinian National Initiative. That comes up around 20 past. But first things first, we go to issues in our own country. Now, we know, I think since the time of Donald Trump's pronouncements regarding, what did he say? South Africa. Oh, bad people, they're doing bad things, right? Things have gone haywire. So much has happened and is happening even now. And of course, besides us talking endlessly about AfriForum, what's emerged in the last few days is there's been Afrikaners who are speaking for South Africa, putting South Africa first and understanding their place, right? So we had a fascinating conversation, as you know, with the leader, one of the leaders from the Beatereinders a few days ago. Let's take that a step further with my chat today with Dr. Louise van Rijn, who's a leadership development expert, social entrepreneur, and also the founder of Partners for Possibility. So Louise knows a lot more about partnerships more than anyone else, I think. Louise, good to connect with you here on the National Pulse.
Thank you very much, Ashraf. It's a fabulous opportunity and I love being here.
Perfect. Thank you. So I tell you what, I'm gonna quote from your piece in the Sunday Times, and I'll go right to the very end because that's the punchline, right? Your last line says, I hope for something else. For my fellow Afrikaners to process and let go of their fear, their nostalgia, their need to be saved. Because we do not need saving. We just need to be here, fully, openly, courageously, and committed to a future in South Africa. That's your last words. Of course, the actual piece, I want people to read it. Explain what do you mean and why you felt the need to say just that.
So, Ashraf, thank you for this opportunity. I've realized over the last few days that Afrikaner voices have been silent, and I think I know why, and maybe we can get to that. But the reality is we've allowed Solidarity and AfriForum to speak for us. And they are not, I can't let them speak for me because I vehemently disagree with a lot of what they are saying. But because they're so vocal and very well connected into the media, people think that's how all Afrikaners think. And it absolutely isn't.
So how do all Afrikaners think, if you're able to answer that question?
Well, I don't think there's no one way. There are many different Afrikaners. Afrikaners is not a monogamous group. Afrikaners is a very, very, very diverse group. Some of us have, been married to black people and English people, and I think people who speak Afrikaans is just we can't kind of paint them with one brush. There's a very wide variety and diversity of Afrikaners. All I can say to you is I was a bit nervous about writing that piece for the Sunday Times because I was concerned that I was going to be told that I'm a traitor, which often happens with, in this community. I'm going to be told I'm a snake in the bosom, which is what I've been told before. Mm-hmm. I didn't get any of that feedback. I got many, many, many messages from people saying, thank you, you are speaking for me. I'm an Afrikaner and I do not want to be seen as being part of AfriForum and Solidariteit. So I think we just need to hear the other voices and not keep hearing the same voices over and over again.
All right, because I think what's important there, and without going into a whole discussion about expropriation, because that could take another half an hour, and that's really not the intention, right? And the point is this, that the AfriForums of the world and Solidariteit and Ernst Roos and whoever else has been lobbying with those in the USA, right? They've communicated a message that their people, your people, Louise, are effectively oppressed, and they've been subjugated, and their future has been ripped apart, and therefore they need help. And as I think you allude to in the article, they need to be saved, right? Why do you think they feel that way?
Well, the reality is that if you, we've heard this often from Pumla and from Tuli, that if you have been privileged and now you have to share your privilege, it feels like oppression. We, the Afrikaners, have lived a very privileged life in this country. I'm living a privileged life today. I mean, when I read what Ernst Roos told Tucker Carlson, I've not been able to do it to myself to listen to it, but when I read what he said, I am horrified. None of that rings true. Yes, the Afrikaners would want me to say, we are a bit uncomfortable with some of the race-based laws because it does make it possible, it makes it hard for white people to get the kind of opportunities. But actually, I don't, as a white person in this country, I just feel incredibly privileged to live here. And I feel that my white skin is still a benefit, and I still live a much better, more affluent life than most black people, and I feel a bit guilty about that. But I don't recognize all of that persecution and white genocide. I mean, it's laughable actually when I hear.
So let's talk about the genocide and effectively a complete hit, if I can put it that way, on Afrikaner farmers in the main. Of course, people have been killed, as others have been killed, and you and I both know that crime is a big issue on the country, but crime is very, very colorblind, right? Do you think they've made that case because that will create the emotional connection to be able to get the most powerful nation on earth at this point in time to be able to be on their side, which is clearly what they've done?
Oh, Ashraf, how do we know what? I think it's all part of a strategy to get attention. It's an attention-seeking strategy. And it doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't resonate with my experience as a white Afrikaner. And I can tell you there are a million other people who feel like I do. It doesn't resonate with us. Now, I agree that crime is a problem in this country. I agree that every life that gets taken is heartbreaking, and we should do everything we can to stop that from happening. But to now make this the story is this is a white genocide. It is a nonsense. You go onto the Cape Flats. I mean, you and I have been part of many conversations, but you go on the Cape Flats and you look at how dangerous it is. This morning, I was part of a workshop, and there were quite a few people from the Cape Flats, and they were telling me how dangerous their communities are. As a privileged white person, I have none of that in my life. I'm just standing in astonishment that people can come to work every day despite all of those experiences and continue to make a contribution to this country. I feel ashamed. I feel ashamed, Ashraf.
Yeah.
White and African.
Okay, so
I don't want.
Okay, your line's cutting for some reason. I'm not too sure why, but hopefully we can get through the next 3 minutes or so, right? If we then look forward, right, there's a sense that I think we all know redress is critical. If there's no redress, why would there be a need for this new South Africa? There has to be redress, right? Amongst the formats being used, or the tools, affirmative action, BE, now the issues of land, there are many, many things that affects redress. Central to all of that is the point that you made, that your people, Afrikaners, some of them, I don't know how many, feel that in the efforts to redress, rightfully so, they don't see their future. Their future's being taken away from them. And if not them, then it's their children and grandchildren. And we're talking about jobs. And I mean, it's very public knowledge. People advertise it very, very publicly because it's legal to say this is an affirmative action appointment. Now, how do you defend against that position? And maybe as you answer that, how do we find a solution to that where the majority, disenfranchised, historically disadvantaged, and still continue to be disadvantaged, finds a place in their South African sun, but those who had it also sees their place in the South African sun even now? How do we get that balance?
So let me start with a very personal story. I personally have been kicked out of the organization I founded because I was white. So I know the pain of paying the price for living, the privileged life. So before people start to kind of throw rotten eggs at me, I just want to say I know the feeling. And I know that is the price we have to pay for so many years of privilege. And this is not an either or. And I do think there's a time for us to rethink some of these race-based laws and to really kind of get to a more equal playing field with regard to those who have, got degrees and now want to go and work in the workplace and get not the opportunity because they're white, which is what many of my fellow Afrikaners are grappling with. But I'm also conscious of how challenging and complex this is, and there are no easy answers. And we want redress because we have to find a way of leveling the playing field. So I don't think there's an easy answer, Ashraf.
Yeah.
But what I know for fact is the answer is not for us to stand on two opposite sides of a fence and throw rotten eggs at each other. I think the answer is for us to continue to be in conversation, to continue to show up, to continue to be part of the solution, and to create the future that we want.
Now, I mean, if I talk about myself, I mean, I love my country. I talk every day about being critical of this country because I am critical of it, but I still love this country. And you and I know I want this ideal of a champion nation to be realized, but it doesn't stop me being critical. Yet I find that when a Donald Trump and an Elon Musk, born in South Africa, feels they can use a platform to literally badmouth our country, my country, your country, almost like it's some sort of a game, then we have to come back and defend that position. And we're not talking about a war, but we have to defend it with our souls, with our narratives, as what you've done. So my question to you, I think the ANC, the government, the party that's been the government for a long time, they're also no angels in terms of causing so many of the problems in our country, right? But therefore, moving forward, is it now time, and I'm just borrowing a phrase for a national convention to say, forget AfriForum and the others, but if anybody feels left out from our democratic project, then we can't ignore them and say, take the next flight out of South Africa. But we need to say, we need to hold on to you, to borrow the stronger together phrase of the Springbok rugby team, to say, how do we do so? I mean, do you agree with that? That means more needs to be done from all of us now to say those who care enough of our country have got to hold on to each other.
Sure, absolutely. I just want to say amen, brother. For sure, that's what we have to do. And we have to find ways to make this country a place where we all feel a sense of belonging. There's been many times in the last 10, 15, 20 years where I have felt alienated, and I've had to work incredibly hard as an Afrikaner to feel that I could keep going. So yes, for sure. But we also have to contribute to making that happen. And the way to make that happen is not to run to the US and, be critical of our country, but to be in the conversation and to invite people into a different narrative about the future of this country. And what you and I, the one thing you and I share is we both believe that the stories we tell matters. So you talk about Champion South Africa, I talk about South Africa Alive with Possibility. If we can keep reminding ourselves that that's the future we're committed to, we're not even interested in all of these stories about how broken the country is. And all.
Good point.
Not going to get us anywhere.
Here's the last thing, just a very quick answer on this one. The reality is AfriForum has been into the USA, so has Solidarity, not just talking, but now physically there, right? There's been calls for them to be charged with treason. A quick answer. How do we deal, as part of our own democratic project, how do we deal with the AfriForum Solidarity issue?
I think we just need to drown out their voices. At the moment, their voice is too strong, and the rest of us have been quiet. And we've been quiet because we didn't want to be told that we are traitors and boerehaters and ANC kruipers and all the things I've been told in the last few days. So we need to have a more balanced picture and not allow those voices to be so loud and so strong and so vocal.
Okay.
And thank you, Ashraf, for giving this opportunity because it's part of the process.
Well, now we have it. Let's hear more of the Afrikaner South African, if I can say that, Dr. Louise van Rijn. Appreciate your time, and maybe please post the article, okay, the link to the article. We'd love to get the listeners to read it as well. They must read it. Thanks for your time, Louise. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
This is the National Pulse.
Andile, the CEO of a multinational corporation, is driving home with his daughter.
Dad, why is the Tooth Fairy so stingy?
Stingy? Well, she makes sure everyone gets something.
Does everyone at your company get something?
Yes, they're covered by Old Mutual Corporate's employee benefits.
Even Abdul.
Of course, he gets retirement benefits.
And Susampa on that big machine.
She gets group risk cover if that big machine hurts her.
Wow, that's amazing, Dad.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matric mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bakkie to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
This is a story of Vodacom's impact.
Having the psychosocial support team has benefited us a lot. You're now able to refer to a specialist. We can accredit that to Vodacom.
This is why we do it. We've deployed psychosocial professionals specializing in GBV and bullying across 30 schools of excellence and ECD centers, helping over 30,000 learners. That's why we're the #1 CSI contributor for 8 years running. See more at now.vodacom.coza. Further together, Vodacom.
Mzansi Africa. SABC Sport is searching for talented football commentators. Are you knowledgeable and passionate about football commentary? Are you a great storyteller of the beautiful game?
That's why they're very good in controlling the ball and keeping it in minutes.
Submit a 2-minute commentary clip in your South African language of choice to commentator@sabcsport.co.za. Also email your full name, surname and contact details. Closing date is on Friday, 7 March 2025. Only shortlisted candidates will be invited for the second round of auditions at SABC Studios in March. SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
If we have rights, shouldn't we also have opinions? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Right, let's move on to another issue. Certainly welcome your thoughts on the conversation I had with Dr. Louise van Rijn, right? But in the meantime, let's talk to Dr. Mustafa Barghouti, who's the president of the Palestinian National Initiative. Dr. Barghouti, appreciate your time. You're now live on the National Pulse.
Hello?
Yes, you are now live on the National Pulse. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to be with you.
Appreciate it. Right, now we speak to you in the context of a destroyed Gaza in Palestine. We also speak to you because an offer was made from the American President Donald Trump to restore that region in his own design. And we also speak to you because we now know there was a meeting of the Arab League with their own plans, right? And we thought, let's pick your brain on that. Perhaps start by sharing what came out of that conversation over the last day or two.
What President Trump proposed was nothing but a war crime because he wanted to meet, or he repeated what the Israeli side wanted, which is a total ethnic cleansing of Gaza. Ethnic cleansing is a war crime by international law. And unfortunately, President Trump was engaged in calling for 3 war crimes at the same time. The war crime of ethnic cleansing of Gaza, the war crime of annexation of the West Bank to Israel, and the war crime of stealing the land of Gaza from its people, an act of theft by every international law. So the Arab Summit was very clear. It had a consolidated, unified Arab position, which is of course supported by all Muslim and independent countries in the world, that nobody will accept ethnic cleansing of the people of Gaza. And the reconstruction of Gaza has to take place while the people of Gaza are in Gaza. And that is possible. The value of the Egyptian proposal is that it showed technically with very clear indicators that it is possible to rebuild Gaza, to reconstruct what the Israelis have destroyed without having to remove the people of Gaza out of Gaza. Everybody knows that if Gazans are forced out of Gaza, they will never be allowed back. We have 70% of the Palestinian people who were displaced by Israel in a major act of ethnic cleansing in 1948. And although United Nations decided they should be allowed to go back to the homes they were displaced from, by a United Nations Resolution 194. Up till now, it was never implemented, and Palestinian refugees were never allowed to come back to their homeland. So Palestinians understand that steadfasting on our land and is the only guarantee for us to be here.
All right, so that's point one, and that's a key point, that the Palestinians will not be removed from the land while the land is being reconstructed, right? What else has been proposed?
There was a detailed plan of reconstruction. There was a call for establishing some kind of a Palestinian committee to run the affairs in Gaza temporarily. Unfortunately, the summit did not do other things like calling for imposing sanctions on Israel to stop the siege that is imposed now on all kinds of humanitarian material to Gaza, which is creating the worst ever humanitarian crisis since the beginning of this war. It also did not call for what we have asked for, which is to force Israel to pay compensation for the destruction it has caused in Gaza. Israel has already destroyed Gaza several times. And we think that without forcing Israel to pay compensation for what they have destroyed, they will not be restrained not to repeat this level of destruction again.
Okay. In terms of the cost of this reconstruction, how much would it cost? Who's going to fund it?
The estimate is that the total cost would be around $50 billion, but the first stage will cost about $30 billion. And the Arab countries are ready to help. I say that one side of the matter is the fact that we have a very important gas field in Gaza, which Israel is preventing us from operating in and using, because they still dream about stealing it from Palestinians. That gas field alone is worth $53 or $54 billion. So if that gas field is activated in the construction process, and if the international community blocks Israeli efforts not to allow us to use it, this will mean that part of it could be used for reconstruction of Gaza, but part of it will be used for keeping the running cost of Gaza in the long run. We don't need any American money, but we need the support of all friends worldwide.
Okay.
As well as Palestinians themselves.
Right, talk about friends. You made the point about no call for sanctions against Israel. That means there can continue to be trade among some of these Arab countries that are trading with Israel to continue to do so. And you also made the point about no call for reparations against this destroyed region, right? Therein lies the weakness, isn't it? That for too long there have been too many of these Arab countries that are on side in calling for a free Palestine, but in fact are unwilling to hurt or harm or upset Israel.
That's true. And that's why many speeches in the summit, unfortunately, never mentioned the name of Israel. although it is well known that it is the aggressor. But nevertheless, the main problem is that I would say this summit had a short-term strategy which was successful, which is a defensive strategy, not to allow ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. That is fine, that is fair, and we thank them for that. The long-term strategy about how we deal with the fact that Israel is rejecting any kind of compromise is a big problem that they didn't tackle. On the contrary, they kept repeating the talks about peace and two-state solution and that Israel must accept the Arab Initiative, but already more than 22 years have passed since the Arab Initiative. When the Arab Initiative was declared, Israel responded by total reoccupation of Gaza and West Bank. Now they've conducted the worst kind of genocide in Gaza. And they are conducting terrible attacks on the West Bank as well, including ethnic cleansing of the people of 3 refugee camps.
All right, carry on.
In our opinion, just 1 second, please. In our opinion, the Arabs must take a different kind of strategy, which is to confront Israel against its aggression.
Okay, here's the last thing, and you've got about a minute maximum to answer this, Dr. Barghouti. Will it work? Will this plan work, notwithstanding some of the shortcomings you've already raised? And I say that, will it work? Does it need the rubber stamp of Donald Trump and the USA?
Donald Trump proposed ethnic cleansing. The Arabs said no. The Arabs are proposing an alternative plan. I don't think Trump will reject it, but he will try to negotiate about what can be done and what cannot be done. We are in a struggle. But having that Arab position was very important for the time being to block the most important danger, which is ethnic cleansing of Palestinians.
Okay, that's where we can leave it. Maybe that first important point, and let's see what happens down the line. Dr. Mustafa Barghouti, President of the Palestinian National Initiative. What do you make of what was said? What do you think of the plan? And the big question is, will it work? This is the National Pulse. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Utsile Saku.
Thanks, Ashraf. Good afternoon. Postbank says it is close to finding a solution to ensure that social grant beneficiaries who are bedridden are able to acquire a Postbank card. The information regulator has announced that it's fully supporting the Minister of Justice, Mamoloko Kubai's decision to halt the publication of the National Register of Sex Offenders. And Lesotho's Foreign Minister, Lejoni Mpojwana, says he is shocked to hear US President Donald Trump refer to the nation as a country nobody has ever heard of. The comment was made by Trump in his address to Congress while listing examples of government waste. Details at 4.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the R21 southbound in Kempton Park is a crash reported before the R24 airport interchange. In KZN, the M4 southbound queuing towards Virginia Airport and Umgeni Road westbound, slow moving through Springfield Park. In the Eastern Cape, on the N10, a truck crash reported on Olifantskorp Pass. You are to expect delays and diversions. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound is slow moving towards Okavango Road exit and the M3 southbound slow moving towards Rhodes Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, to me, I don't know about you, but I've got my eye on what's happening in Lahore.
My eyes are also there. Very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, New Zealand posted 362 for 6 in their 50 overs against South Africa in their Champions Trophy semi-final clash. The Black Caps won the toss earlier on, choosing to bat first. It was a good game for Roshan Ravindra, who scored his 5th ODI century, hitting 108 in 101 balls, while Kane Williamson hitting 102 for 94 balls. Lungi Ngidi taking a figure of figures of 3 for 72 and Kagiso Rabada 2 for 70. In terms of South Africa, right now they are sitting on 19 for no loss. The last time I checked, I think now they just went to an ad because we're watching it live. It is still 19 for no loss. Ryan Rickleton and Themba Bavuma at the crease. Rickleton on 17 and Bavuma on 2. So South Africa need 344 runs in 45 overs to win. Can they do it? Listen, I've got the confidence. Ashraf, I hope you also have the confidence that we can do it.
Well, I said so 2 days ago. I said, well, we're in the final, right? But now let's be realistic. It's a big task. 300 and what's it? 300 and something. It's a big task, right?
363.
That means you can't afford to lose early wickets. If you lose one or two early and you don't get a long partnership, you need a partnership about 100 plus amongst your top 4. Otherwise, you're in big trouble. Then you won't score 200. That's how it goes.
In terms of the surface, it could be.
Yes, I've heard that the Dubai surface is more truer. The Lahore one in Pakistan is a completely flat wicket. So maybe, just maybe, 300 plus is not big enough for New Zealand. I hope that's true.
We hope that's true. South Africa currently sitting on 20 for no loss. In football, Mamelodi Sundowns Miguel Cardoso and Lucas Ribeiro Costa have been named coach and player of the month, respectively, for February. Masanda won 6 of the 7 games in February, and Ribeiro scoring 5 goals and setting up 3 more throughout this run. Meanwhile, Magezi coach Owen De Gama has shared how they are approaching the long drawn-out troubles of Royal AM, which continue to be confusing in the relegation battle. Magezi suffered their 12th defeat of the season after going down 1-0 to Kaizer Chiefs in the Betway Premiership match at the FNB Stadium last night. Now, the result has left them in the 15th spot on the log with 17 points from 21 matches, and Dagama says that they currently consider themselves to be occupying the bottom of the log.
To be honest, in the back of your mind, there's always that thing of the Royal AM thing, but what we're looking at now is that we are bottom of the log. That's how we see it. We take it from that perspective that we are bottom of the log and we need to get out there. We need to move out of that position. What's fortunate is that we've closed the margin a little bit. So there isn't 2-3 points, 2 wins could make a very big difference there at the bottom. And we're also not interested in what Richards Bay doing, Marumo Gallants. We don't focus on them. We just take each game as a cup final, and we focus on our game. So I think that helps us to be more focused on what we want to do. So we don't even look at the results of the other teams. At the end of the day, we're just looking at where we are and where we'd like to be.
A quick update on what's happening there at Lahore. We unfortunately just lost Ryan Rickleton for 17, so we're 20 for 1. Rassi Fadadosan walking in. Then in tennis, Emma Raducanu says that she's happy to be back on the court at the Indian Wells after being targeted by a stalker during last month's Dubai WTA 1000 tournament. The British tennis star was left distraught after a man later said to be displaying fixated behavior appeared at a courtside seat during her defeat to Karolina Muchova. Raducanu is making her first tournament appearance since her troubled Dubai campaign at this week's event in California, and she says it's good to be back. In rugby, Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus says that he's confident that veteran Locke Evan Etzebeth will feature for the team in 2025. The 33-year-old has not played since early December due to recurring concussion symptoms. He's back on the field and is expected to attend the World Champions first alignment camp of the year in Cape Town from the 7th to the 12th of March as he continues the march to reach a third successive World Cup. And finally, in basketball, LeBron James became the first player in NBA history to score 50,000 combined points in the regular season and postseason. James surpassed the mark with a three-pointer early in the first quarter of the Los Angeles Lakers' 136-115 win over the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, the 40-year-old already is the top scorer in NBA history in both the regular season and the playoffs during a career in which he has rewritten all previous definitions of basketball longevity. On that note, it is a wrap from my side. I would give you the update of South Africa. However, the score is not there yet. Let me check on my phone, actually. South Africa currently sitting on 24 for 1.
Okay, and that one is the most important one.
Yeah.
I told you, don't lose an early wicket. They have lost an early wicket. All right, so now they can't lose another one. Otherwise, they're in big trouble, okay? Right, more sports and cricket in an hour.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? At Specsavers, get a free pair of branded prescription sunglasses up to 3,200 Rand. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
This Human Rights Month, SAFM is deepening a culture of social justice and human rights. It's a time to reflect, engage, and take action for a more just society. From thought-provoking discussions to powerful stories, SAFM is leading the conversations that move us. Because your voice matters, your rights matter, and together we shape a better future. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
So you know this, I know this, 5 rands can't buy you a pie and a cool drink anymore, not for a long time, isn't it? But Outsurance is still committed to saving you big bucks on your car insurance. Get a quote, and if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 rands in cash. And make that 1,500 rands if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get monthly savings on your car insurance or cash in your pocket. SMS out to 30754. You got it, 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer in FSP, T's and C's online.
Do great solutions start with a good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
So we've had two really, I would think, thought-provoking conversations already on the show. One with Dr. Louise van Rijn around Afrikaners needing to process and let go of their fears. And I want to get your thoughts on that in terms of what she said. It's less about AfriForum, but more about what do Afrikaners need to do now and what does South Africa need to do around, nation building. And the second one with Dr. Mustafa Barghouti, president of the Palestinian National Initiative, regarding the Arab League summit around reconstructing Gaza and Palestine. What do you make of that? Let's get your thoughts. I'll take your calls in a few minutes' time. 0614-104-107 to WhatsApp, text or voice note. To voice notes 30 seconds max, please stick with that. 086 0002032 to call in, and that doesn't stop you from tweeting as well. You can do that right away. Tag SFM Radio, tag myself, Ashraf Garda. We'll look at your tweets, we'll look at your thoughts as well. So that comes up pretty shortly. In the meantime, let's talk about SA Harvest. There's a big issue around food security in the country. We know inequality and poverty and a lack of food, and therefore nutritional issues are big challenges in our country. So SA Harvest, as they continue their vital food rescue efforts, they also have new plans around what they want to do. Let's speak now to Ozzy Nell, who will talk about the leadership changes within the organization and their plans broadly. Ozzy, appreciate your time. Thanks for connecting on the National Pulse.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you, man. Really appreciate it.
Much appreciated too, right? Well, I'll tell you what, if you've got solutions around moving from food insecurity to security, then you know what, we'll give you a platform every single day on this show, right? So first of all, give us an analysis of what is your thoughts around just the issue of food security in our country, and where does SA Harvest fit into that?
Security is an absolute crisis in our and just maybe to give the listeners a little bit of a background of what we do and how we go about it, is that we work in the food value chain. And in South Africa, we know there's more than 10 million tons of edible food going to landfill. We intercept that and we redirect it to community-based organizations on a scale and empower them to actually prepare nutritional meals out of this. And just to go one step further, in South Africa, we know that if you look at the age group between 0 to 5, more than 30% of our kids born in South Africa are already showing various signs of stunting due to malnutrition. So that is an absolute race. If we don't tackle it now, together with food security, we're not going to have rising stars to tackle many things in our economy and help build an economy in 20 years from now.
All right, so we'll look at some of your ideas that you may have in a moment. Let's talk about some of the leadership changes that SA Harvest has instituted, which may have an impact then on what happens next.
Look, you know what, when we started the company, our founder, Alan Brody, we felt that it would always be important not just to have a tactical organization that addresses food security, but also look at the systemic changes. But over the years, we've built a really strong collaborations with other logistics companies and of the larger stakeholders and also manufacturers and some of the big farmers. And we're now at a stage where Alan felt it's time that he addresses the systemic issues and have a look at how we can change legislation, how can we incentivize through different tax schemes the players within the value chain. And together with myself and the board and the rest of the SA Harvest team, we focus on really scaling our efforts on a daily basis.
Okay, how are you going to scale it? Give us some practical examples of it.
Just to put it into perspective, we've built a relationship with the Road Freight Association. So they basically work with the larger logistical companies in South Africa. They lobby, they look at road taxes and a lot of technical issues and various things. We've joined hands with them, and what that has enabled us is to be able to piggyback when they have got large trucks. We're talking about your tote liners. These are trucks that can carry up to 34 tons. So over the whole country, there are various routes where these trucks actually come back empty. And we have, through technology and building these relationships, we were able to then get a lot of food. Instead of them having to try and get it to us, this doesn't. It's a win-win. And also with the help of CHEP. CHEP has all the agricultural bins that the farmers use to collect their produce in. They were able to come and join hands with us and give us a pro bono account. So now we are moving through this relationship. We are able to move quite big numbers. I mean, for the one farmer, we did 72 tons just in sweet potato from one harvest. That we then moved into our community-based organizations.
Okay, great.
And that is absolute gold if you're looking
I
at...
can imagine, yeah.
kids.
So, Ozzy, your line's not that great, so we're gonna end in a moment, but maybe just one last thing to ask you, right? Obviously, the issue of food security is critical. We know that, right? But you made the point about community, connections. Now, one of the biggest issues in South Africa has been how do big organizations, so in this case, #SA Harvest, how do what they do not just impacts the whole country in terms of food security, but also in terms of building entrepreneurs and an enterprise at community-based level. So there's stakeholders all the way from the very top right down to grassroots. What can you tell us about that?
Well, that is really the secret sauce of SA Harvest. We're that conduit. We've and showcase the organizations, what they're busy with and what they're really struggling with. Whether it's infrastructure or education or lack of nutritional food, we are that conduit. And
okay, that's where we can leave it. I think we got that. The line's just dropping once again. That's Ozzy Nel, the COO of SA Harvest. What are your thoughts on that and the issue of ensuring we have food security, but also that the industry that creates the food security, that it goes all the way down to grassroots, so everybody has an interest in that enterprise, no matter what. That's so important, right? Right, we're going to get to your thoughts because I want to get to know what you feel. What does your pulse tell you?
V up your February with great value deals from Vodacom Business. Meet the new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra featuring integrated Galaxy AI. Get it on a Red Business 1.5 gig plan for only 1,539 Rand per month over 24 months. Enhance your deal. Add 69 Rand extra per month and get the Samsung Galaxy Watch 7 eSIM. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom Business.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Get unbeatable football odds with SuperSport Bet. From derbies to title deciders, our Super Boosts give you boosted odds you won't find anywhere else. Switch today and get a 100% deposit match up to 5,000 Rand. SuperSport Bet is licensed by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. Bookmaker license 101911097. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. National Responsible Gambling Program. Toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help 076 675 0710.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Okay, let's get your thoughts. So you can call in. You can tweet on the X platform. You can send us a text message or you can WhatsApp. And all those options are available to you. And if you want to send a picture of wherever you are listening to the National Pulse, that's great too. Joe in Mpumalanga, you want to talk about AfriForum? Go for it.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Joe. I'm very good indeed, right? What's your point, Joe?
No, my point here, I will be different. I'm a black person, but there's something that I don't understand about your previous guest. Is it Dr. Who?
Louise van Rijn, yeah.
Yeah, I think she's not telling us the whole South Africa the truth. What you must know, I'm not African, but what you have to check here, first thing, the Afrikaner wanted to talk with the president. President refused to talk with them. Second thing, they try all the avenue to talk with government, and it fell in the deaf ears. So what the AfriForum will do now? That's why they go to outside the country and complain. Even the ANC, during the ANC time, they were complaining outside.
So you think the president or the presidency has been wrong in not listening to AfriForum when they reached out to want to talk to them over many issues, yeah?
Yes, they are wrong because they always government preach about dialogue. Why not sit down and talk with AfriForum?
Well, Joe, thanks for making that point, and I'm sure others are going to say thumbs up to your comments. Others are going to say thumbs down. That's why we have this forum here. It is the National Pulse, and I certainly want to feel your pulse too. Right, Imbawana in Mafikeng, go for it.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Right, what's your point?
Yes, Palestine.
Yep.
The people of Palestine, they should resist whatever they colonize that is being planned to. Because as we also here in South Africa, we're not going to allow any colonize.
Sorry, just explain what you mean there. The people of Palestine should resist any attempts to colonize them, yeah?
Yeah, resist all means by someone who wants to steal their land.
Okay, well, that's why the plan to maybe shift them out is met with so much opposition, yeah.
Yeah, because we're hearing a lot of noise from the outsiders about South Africa. Because why? We are in a position to fight the land that was being stolen from Africans. So whenever there's a right thing to be done, you always hear a lot of noise. And I'm glad that you brought someone like the person who was speaking there, who told us something we did not know about what is happening in Palestine.
Okay, thanks for raising that, Imbawana. I welcome further thoughts on the issues we've covered and maybe some of the other issues we haven't quite covered as well. There's a question that Gent was talking about gas fields in the Gaza region. What was his name? His name is Dr. Mustafa Barghouti, right? With a BH, I think it's Mustafa Barghouti, right? Okay, let's get to further comments from you via your voice notes.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. You know, I'm utterly disgusted and shocked that as a human race, we have descended to the gutter, that we are now engaged in what we term a constructive debate or argument of whether people should now answer a question whether they are willing to accept an offer to leave their homes or to be taken out of their homes and moved to God knows where. I mean, honestly, this proposal by Trump to move Palestinians out of their home is ridiculous. Siya Devin.
Okay, well, so you've made your point. Many agree with you. And also, in the initial conversation, it wasn't even like we're going to give them such rewards to do that. It's like, I will sort them out. And the Egyptians and the Jordanians, they listen to us. And now I'm sort of paraphrasing what Trump said. Remember that? Okay, here's more comment.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I believe that if we had more people like Dr. Louis van Rijn, our country would be a better place to live in. There would be no space for useless organizations like AfriForum. As a media, you must make sure that her voice is amplified. And at the same time, please make sure that AfriForum's voices are drowned. Thank you very much, Peter Maila Machaba from Letswana.
Oh, Peter Maila. Well, I tell you what, I mean, partly right, partly wrong. Let's start with Louis van Rijn. I think you're right about that I don't think we need more voices. We need to find those voices. They exist, and those voices must be amplified because they need to be heard. On the other hand, what we can't do is get into a form of censorship whereby if we don't agree with a grouping that's got a vested interest in the country, they're part of the country, how else would we know what they're thinking if we don't speak to them? So we have to talk to them, if you understand the position here.
Good afternoon, Ashraf Ganda. What's on my mind today is in South Africa, I never thought that there will be people who are trying so hard to divide what was divided during apartheid, to divide our race, ethnics, moral, and behavior. Pranma by Protiaglan. Thanks for the question.
Okay, well, I appreciate that you're enjoying the show and keep on listening and tell your chummies to listen as well. We want to get the whole country listening. We already broadcast countrywide. Now we need everybody listening in because we certainly are on side. We want to be a nation builder as a show and as a station, right? Okay, more comment on what's the goings on in the Middle East.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Matumataka Islam Pakistan. Let Donald Trump and his regime leave Gaza alone. They must leave Gaza in peace, not in pieces. I thank you.
Leave it in peace, not in pieces. The truth is, and I know what happened on October the 7th, and even South Africa has said that the attack on civilians on October 7th was wrong. The reality is the reprisals has certainly left Gaza in pieces already. So, points taken.
Ashraf, guys, I don't know. Yes, I can see that you at SAFM and other media houses, you are part and parcel and you're supporting left wings. Do you know how brutal farm murders are? You cannot compare a farm murder to a murder where people just got shot. Those people get hurt, they're raped. I mean, that's brutal.
I'm not too sure where we supported as SAFM farm murders and where do myself personally support farm murders. So just so that you are unclear about it, all murders are absolute no-nos. They break our hearts, they destroy lives. Farm murders are absolute no-nos. Murders in the cities are absolute no-nos. It is the murder rate that we have in our country is a huge impediment to our country's growth. You got that?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. This is Ntobeko in Mtwalume. I'd like to say kudos to the lady you're speaking to there, because she's making a good point that AfriForum and Solidarity are certainly not speaking for all the Afrikaners, but they are pretending as if they're speaking for all the Afrikaners. It's a good point that she's raising, that Afrikaners are not all represented by AfriForum and Solidarity. And secondly, even if the Afrikaners were to lose something, it wouldn't be as much as what we have lost as the black people. We've lost far way too much. So even if they were to lose something, it will still be a drop in the ocean. Thank you.
Well, I think we can have, this, because I've often spoken about having another TRC at community-based levels. It's not so much about losing, but if you came from a privileged background, as obviously white South Africans did, right? And you part of the nation-building project, I won't say lose, but there must be some sacrifices. I'm not saying every sacrifice is agreed upon. If you've heard Louise van Rijn's points about she lost positions, senior positions, I'm very aware of it in terms of where she is right now because of her own position. But overall, there must be a sense of sacrifice by all of us. Similarly, there must also be black South Africans who must be able to somehow come across to a way that they see even white South Africans, and they must communicate with them as part of the future and not a case of you were part of the past, we don't need you, get out of the country. You can't do that because you will destroy the country that you live in anyway. 4 o'clock, let's get the news. Here's Utsila.
Thanks, Ashraf. Top stories. Postbank confident in progress made in SASSA card migration, and NERSA criticised for approving Eskom's tariff increase. Good afternoon. Postbank says it is close to finding a solution to ensure that social grant beneficiaries who are bedridden are able to acquire a Postbank card. The bank is administering the process of grant beneficiaries migrating from a SASSA Gold card to Postbank's Black card. Postbank officials are appearing before Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Social Development to give an update on the migration process. Postbank CEO Nikki Mbengashe says they are now in the process of finding ways to assist bedridden beneficiaries.
We're working with SASSA on this one because remember, it is something that SASSA offered a long time ago that you can go and register through their system. They verify you and they then say whether you qualify for bedridden. There is one challenge because now in banking there's security in terms of or how you send these cards and everything, but we're working. We believe we're coming to a solution.
Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy has criticised the National Energy Regulator of South Africa, NERSA, for approving Eskom's application to increase electricity tariffs. Last year, NERSA approved the power utility's 12.7% tariff increase application starting from the 1st of next month. Members of the committee have requested NERSA to provide reasons for its decision. The energy regulator approved a lower figure than the 36% that the power utility had initially requested. NERSA's presentation is currently underway in Parliament. The Democratic Alliance in Gauteng has slammed the Education Department for failing to pay the city of Ekurhuleni for electricity, leaving some public schools without power. At the weekend, Education MEC Madume Chilwane admitted that they had outstanding debt with municipalities. The DA says at least 20 schools in Ekurhuleni have been left in the dark as a result of the department's non-payment. DA provincial spokesperson for education, Michael Waters, says the MEC needs to account to the Education Portfolio Committee.
The Department of Education in Gauteng has run out of money to pay for the electricity of schools across the East Rand. This was revealed in a letter from the department to the city of Ekurhuleni, pleading for leniency and requesting that they pay for their bills in April once the new financial year is kicked in. The Democratic Alliance finds this totally unacceptable, and we would like to know where the money has gone from the department's budget for services such as electricity.
The information regulator has announced that it fully supports the Minister of Justice, Mamuloko Kubai's decision to halt the publication of the National Register of Sex Offenders. The department last week delayed the publication of the sex offenders list, citing concerns of ensuring the publication complies with the Protection of Personal Information Act. The act that was introduced in 2013 promotes the protection of personal information processed by the public and private institutions. During a meeting held with the department's representatives earlier this year, the regulator mentioned its concern over the list's alignment to the POPI Act. Mkelane Dimba is the regulator's spokesperson.
We believe that sexual assault and gender-based violence are doubtlessly a scourge in South Africa. However, in a rules-based society such as South Africa, it is imperative that such action must fall within the confines of the law. Currently, the legislation providing for compilation, maintenance and dissemination of the register prohibits its publication.
And finally, Lesotho's Foreign Minister Lejone Mpotjoana says he was shocked to hear US President Donald Trump refer to the nation as a country nobody has ever heard of. The comment was made by Trump in his address to Congress while listing examples of government waste. The BBC's Mayeni Jones has the details.
A spokesperson for the government of Lesotho says to hear the President of the United States refer to another sovereign country in that manner was shocking. Mr. Trump mentioned Lesotho when listing examples of what he described as appalling waste identified by his administration. He said $8 million had been given for the promotion of LGBTQ+ rights in Lesotho, which he described as a nation nobody has ever heard of.
Recapping the top story, Postbank says it is close to finding a solution to ensure that social grant beneficiaries who are bedridden are able to acquire a Postbank card. The bank is administering the process of grant beneficiaries migrating from a SASSA Gold card to Postbank Black cards. I'll be back with headlines at 4:30.
In sports this hour, South Africa 67 for 1 after 10 overs, needing 296 runs in 39 overs to win. And Alcaraz chases third straight Indian Wells title. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in Amonda has a crash reported before the N12 interchange, and the R21 southbound in Kempton Park has a crash before the R24 airport interchange. In KZN, the M4 southbound is queuing towards Virginia Airport. The N2 southbound has a stationary vehicle before the M41 gateway exit. In the Eastern Cape, on the N10, a truck crash reported on Olifantscourt Pass. You asked to expect delays and diversions. In Cape Town, Batengracht Street outbound is slow moving towards the elevated freeway. Chapman's Peak Drive is closed for alien vegetation clearing works until 4 p.m. and Strand Road eastbound in Stuckland slow moving towards the R300 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.6 FM in Mangaung.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The pressure is mounting in the second half of the league. Both SC Freiburg and RB Leipzig refuse to bow. They want to triumph to protect their top half positions. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Experience the German way of the beautiful game. Sporting Club Freiburg versus RB Leipzig on Saturday, 8 March at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on TTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
You are listening to The Chill Zone with Bertha Charuma.
When it's a male who makes the money, we don't seem to have much of a problem. You know, as a wife, as a girlfriend, you kind of like go along, he gives you petty cash to do what you need to do. But when it is now the woman who makes money, and to try and give your partner pocket money, it almost feels as though we're breaking the rules.
We all grew up with a certain understanding of what a man is. We all grew up with a certain understanding of what it is that makes a man a man. So here you are, the thing that you assert and say, this is what makes me a man. I pay the bills in this house. I do A, B, and C. All of a sudden, you can't do that. You are no longer that guy.
Our relationship coach and author, Linda Yende.
Bertha Charuma on SAFM. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, there's so much we're going to talk about. In fact, we'll get to the issue of a taxi driver, mini taxi driver that many people thought had died. But come to that in a second. But there's further comments on the conversation we had earlier on regarding the Afrikaners.
SAFM. You know, hey, I'm just shocked. I don't even know what to say about one of the callers here who just said our president, the head of the state and the government, that he should have listened to the Afrikaners or AfroForum. What is special about Afrikaners? What is special about them? I just want to ask, like, what is special about them? They failed to come into the table so that we can get justice during the CODESA negotiations and during the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So what is special about them? These people are so privileged. And if the president is going to listen to the Afrikaners, when is he going to listen to Zulus, Xhosas, Tsongas, and so etc.?
Okay, you've made your point. I mean, that, when we talk about getting a feel of the pulse of the nation, that reflects a line, a position. I wonder what your position is on that, right? Let's, however, get to another issue in Cape Town. So I saw this video of a mini taxi driver who was called off the road, and at some stage, this is in Cape Town, then at some stage trying to avoid, being arrested or being questioned, and then was questioned. And I understand there was an argument that broke out. But the bottom line to all of that, and this is the story I'd heard, that in fact, then this taxi driver was beaten up or choked or strangled with video coverage to the point where the taxi driver had actually died. And I saw people crying. I understand that's not quite true. That didn't quite happen. So let's find out. But something did happen. Let's find out what actually happened with Mandla Hermanus, the Western Cape chairperson of Santaco. Mandla, thanks for connecting to us on the National Pulse.
Thank you for having me, Ashraf.
Thank you. So I saw some videos. Fill in the blanks there. What actually happened, Mandla?
From what I understand, the driver was pulled off by a law enforcement officer for an infringement. And then the driver, because on the video you can actually hear one of the passengers asking if they should wait for him or they should actually start hiking. And then he said, no, they should hike because it seems he's going to be arrested. And then you can see him leaning his back towards the car of the traffic officer. And then in the next video, we see him being choked, and then we assume they wanted to arrest him and he was resisting. And then he was choked to a point where he lost consciousness and then he passed out. That's when the passengers now assumed that now this person is dead. And that is the video that then started circulating. And then we later on discovered that actually he did regain consciousness and then was taken into a police station where he was detained after having recovered from the stranglement.
So, I mean, having seen the video myself and listening to the cries, it's horrific. When you hear people, being killed at earthquakes, or you find, extermination of people, and that type of complete helplessness. That's what I saw. So I'm glad that he didn't die, but he just fell into unconsciousness, and I'm glad he regained consciousness, right? But what then is your understanding about the story? What actually happened? Like, how did they get to a level where they tried to call him off the road? The one story is that he resisted. But to what point do you call him off the road and then attempt to strangle him? Can you tell us more about what you know?
First of all, the story that he maybe tried to run away from the police or from traffic law enforcement is incorrect. When he was pulled over, he stopped, and my understanding is that then after talking to the law enforcement officer, the law enforcement might have tried to actually arrest him or impound the vehicle, and that's when he resisted, which is something that we do not encourage our drivers to do, because when you are on the road and you are stopped, it's a basic rule, you follow the instructions of the law enforcement officer that is on the road at any given time when you have been stopped. Right. So there might have been an argument, and then they tried to detain him, and he might have resisted, and leading on to them getting physical with him. But what we were disappointed on is to see that one can be choked to a point where one loses consciousness. I mean, we are saying that can't be correct, at least because there was more than one law enforcement officer on the scene. At least they should have been able to overpower this person without actually choking him until he loses consciousness. Especially because in November, we lost a driver actually at the hands of the police. Again, he was being arrested and then he was beaten up. Luvuyo Vimba, that was in November last year. And he subsequently passed on from the injuries sustained during that attack by SEPs. So we are saying we cannot continue to have these things. And there's a lot of these things that are happening. But unfortunately, not every time there's a camera or someone with video footage.
Okay, point taken. So, Mandla, firstly, how is the driver now? What's his condition like?
No, the driver is fine. The driver is perfectly fine.
All right.
No issues.
Have you had a chance, you or your organization had a chance to actually chat to him now to get his story?
The organization that he belongs to, the chairperson there has had a chance to visit the family, and I will get feedback from him because the driver was actually appearing in court today for that incident. So I will get feedback from the chairperson of that region because the driver belongs to Codeta.
Okay.
I will get feedback this afternoon.
And in appearing in court for the incident, I mean, from his side, what traffic offense did he commit that got him to be pulled off in the first place and arrested?
We do not understand what he could have done that he was pulled out for. It could have been changing lanes without indicating because it was during the morning peak, but he was pulled off either way. And then, but what we could understand from the statement from the city was that subsequently then they discovered that he has outstanding warrants for 3,000 rands, which could not have been the reason he was pulled out in the first place.
All right. Lastly, have you had a chat to Western Cape Safety and Security, and the relevant authorities there to discuss this issue with them?
Immediately when the videos started circulating, the first person I contacted was the mayor to say this has happened and there are allegations that this person has passed on. And then when we got feedback from the association that no, actually the driver is alive and well, then I communicated that to the mayor again to say, actually, it turns out this person is alive, he's well, he just lost consciousness. But there hasn't been an engagement with the city in terms of saying, how do we manage this so that we don't continue to have these fractions between drivers and law enforcement officers. What we have had is a statement by JP.
So why not? What I'm saying, doesn't this warrant an escalation of a conversation one-on-one as opposed to, statements and maybe tweets or something like that?
It does. It does, but the biggest challenge we have is when these incidents happen, the first statement you will hear will come from JP Smith, who's the MMC for community safety within the city of Cape Town. And that statement seeks to condone the behavior of law enforcement officers, which is what we have been crying about. We are saying the law enforcement officials are also human beings. They are not superhumans. They can make errors in judgment when dealing with certain kinds of situations. We understand that they are trained to deal with all these kinds of situations that they may encounter as they try to enforce the law on the roads.
So lastly on this issue, I mean, while we talk about this, and there's obviously a huge concern that the driver almost lost his life. I mean, thank goodness he did not, right? On the other hand, there were issues of taxis being impounded in the Cape towards the end of last year. And I know, you can give me your comments on that, but I know that there's also been cases where far too many of these public taxis on the road are clearly unroadworthy, and you can just see it. You don't have to even do a test on it. And the truth is, you've got human cargo in those taxis. So whereas we have sympathy for a driver, in this case here, how much sympathy is then for the commuter who is effectively putting their own lives at risk when they are in those taxis?
I think also it's a perception that the majority of taxis that are on our roads are dilapidated and should not be on the roads. There are taxis that really should not be on the roads, and we are not saying law enforcement should not deal with those, but in the main, the fleet that is currently operating on our roads are taxis that were purchased between 2017 up to 2025. So that is why our operators are sitting with these huge debts. It's because they continue to renew their fleets and acquire new taxis. That's why every taxi you see on the road, it's a quantum. There's no longer those CIRs that were described as coffins on our roads.
I remember that. Yeah.
So, yes, the percentage of taxis that are in a condition that they should not be on the roads is very minimal. And even if you were to look at accidents involving taxis, very few of those accidents relate to a taxi not being in a condition. It's always human error or driver behavior.
All right, Manda, let's leave it there. I'll tell you what, a separate conversation is how often we see taxis breaking the rules. Not about the physical car, but just literally, as they say, we stop, we drive anywhere. And I mean, we see it every single day, anecdotally. Mandla Hermanus, the Santaco Western Cape chairperson. So, any thoughts on that? I'd like to get your opinion on that, because that certainly should get your pulses racing. Now, what about the other opinion? We'll chat to the Western Cape Safety and Security MMC right after this.
Over the last 50 years, one man has played an unparalleled part in transforming British society. This man is Rupert Murdoch. Feared by politicians, Murdoch has built the biggest media operation on the planet. His empire has given him extraordinary power and influence. The rise of the Murdoch family is an electrifying study of the Murdoch dynasty, charting the ups and downs of an empire. From the ambition that fueled its success, to the criminality that led to the closure of the News of the World and the Leveson Inquiry. This is The Rise of the Murdoch Family. Thursdays at 10 p.m. starts 13 February, only on S3.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. that's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Right, let's get another take on that, on the same issue about the taxi driver that was strangled, and story one, strangled to death, but thank goodness that was not the case. He certainly fell into unconsciousness and recovered enough to go to court today, so I understand. With me is the Western Cape Safety and Security MMC, Jean-Pierre Smith. So MMC, appreciate your time. Thanks for connecting on the National Pulse.
Pleasure, sir. Thank you for the interview opportunity.
All right, so we've been talking about it already. We had a representative from Santaco already on the line giving what he knows about what happened. Help us understand from your side what happened. I did see the video of what I thought was the taxi driver who actually had been strangled to death. I find out that was not the case. Thank goodness for that. But fill in the blanks for us. What happened?
So part of the crisis that was fabricated yesterday was precisely that Santaco leadership and some other taxi industry stakeholders started spreading that misinformation that the person had died, and that of course just accelerated the level of conflict, which led to a big standoff next to the at the station deck, with two of our officers being taken hostage, and a blockade of the road which we had to defuse, and we had to rescue the two officers from the group holding them, which we were able to do. But what happened is that at 7 a.m. our officers were patrolling the N2, and a vehicle was driving on the shoulder of that road, as is often the case. This is a common form of complaint to the city. We get between 200 and 500 complaints a day about minibus taxi conduct. and the officers pulled the vehicle over. They were issuing him a fine, and in doing so discovered that he had an outstanding warrant of arrest. When they attempted to arrest him for that outstanding warrant, he resisted, became obstructive. It ended up with a physical conflict, and in an attempt to restrain him without causing permanent harm, the officers used the chokehold to bring him under control, and then moved him to Athlone SAPS, where SAPS processed him. In terms of the arrest, there was a similar incident later the afternoon, again a vehicle driving on the shoulder, and when the two officers pulled the driver over, the driver and other drivers who passed and stopped, as well as some of the occupants of the vehicle, then assaulted the officers and bit them.
All right, so regarding what happened now, are you satisfied with the plan of action taken by the traffic officers from the time that they saw that this person was driving that vehicle on the shoulder of the road?
With all incidents, there is an internal investigation. So as soon as there's any kind of incident, the management initiate an internal investigation, and they will unpack it. So I have learned not to opine on matters where I was not present and where I have not seen the whole video. There was a lot of dash cam and body cam footage collected, which I followed up on earlier today, and I'm told that we did capture quite a bit of this on camera. So some of the vexatious and dishonest complaints or narratives can be settled with that, because it tells the whole story, not just the portion that was circulated for public consumption. And some of those matters will then also go to the police in terms of the assault charges and others on persons involved who are out of camera shot but who were involved earlier in the incidents.
All right, now, Santaco says they believe the driver did not attempt to run away, to sort of avoid arrest at that time, right? But that's another conversation which I think your investigation will find out anyway. The more important one...
Santaco has an excellent track record on accurate facts as of yesterday, so I'll take that with a pinch of salt. The cameras, the body cams and the dash cams were purchased precisely so that we would have a single version of the truth, and we'll ultimately rely on those, on the insights gained from those.
All right, point taken. Now, let's just stay with what happened at the very end, right? Why did it have to get to a level where the person was apprehended but then effectively choked, right, to the point where, I mean, the visual, unless that entire visual is fabricated, that the person, well, he certainly lost consciousness, but many people thought he died. And I understand that if you're not a medical person, that's what you would think. Why would it get to that level where he had no firearm? At that stage, he was not attacking. He could not attack the other traffic officers. There were like 2-3 people surrounding him.
So you have to ask the taxi driver that, because the violence is not initiated by the officer. The violence is initiated by the taxi driver. He's pulled over. There is an attempt to arrest him. He resists arrest. That continues to escalate. And then there is an escalation of force. So the Act says we must use only necessary force. We do a lot of training in terms of training our staff on their constitutional duties, the ethics of modern policing, ensuring they understand their role, and that abuse of power, that they understand what it is to engage in an abuse of power, and confining themselves to being a support to the public and not a hindrance. And so in this regard, they're not going to resort to violence readily, because there are 100 cameras that come out. Everything is recorded. And so the officers will only do that which they left no choice but to do. And if the person resists and becomes violent, he or she is dictating the fact that that incident escalates. The officers will do what they need to in order to bring the situation under control and to effect an arrest. However, if what is being suggested by Santaco is that every time somebody resists arrest or becomes violent with officers, the officers must simply stand back and allow that person to go free or go unhindered, what you will have is a situation where on the roads, those people who are willing to engage in violence and are the most selfish and most derelict drivers, they will dictate how the roads work. And that has already happened in South Africa to a large extent. And so we have to hold the line.
All right. Now, look, I mean, I think every one of us agrees with you that we can't have taxis breaking the rules. We can't have all cars breaking the rules and doing what they want, thinking they have their own lane to themselves. That's unacceptable. They can't evade arrest as well. We know that's true, right? But just to go back to the last point, now, that there's that missing story that we're not clear about in terms of what actually happened. But would you then say, based upon what you know, that the traffic cop who then attempted or effectively did strangle that person did the right thing.
So it's not strangling. There is a maneuver, choking somebody up. There is a maneuver that is exercised in terms of depriving person of or placing them in a chokehold in order to render them immobile. That is part of the training. It is a last resort, but it is a better option than engaging, for instance, in applying a nightstick or a truncheon, or in that case, escalation of force once the officer has left no purpose or no choice but to use violent force in terms of a firearm or otherwise. So as the fight progresses, as the suspect leaves the officers no choice and continues to fight or fights more aggressively or brings other people into the fight, which is what was happening there, then the situation escalates and those officers have to decide what they need to do to bring the situation under control, or they have to back off and let the person go. And once you do that, you have to do it for everyone, and it's very soon the rules of the road will be dictated by those who are willing to exercise violence.
All right, I hear that. So just the last thing then, and help us understand this from a medical point of view then, is it norm when they execute on the chokehold that you talk to, that in effect that person will fall into unconsciousness? Is that the norm?
The chokehold is there to cause the person to temporarily lose the ability to continue fighting. It is a maneuver that is practiced by police throughout it. It's part of choice when the next situation is that he feels or she feels so threatened that they're going to have to reach for a firearm. That is a preferable option than an action that cannot be reversed.
Okay, but will they always then fall into unconsciousness at that point?
That is the intention of a chokehold, is to render the person unable to continue fighting without hurting them permanently, without injuring them in a manner that cannot be reversed.
And therefore unconscious at that point in time, right?
Yes, sir. And because the decision or the point of getting there is determined by the suspect. They are the ones who continue to escalate the violence until that doesn't become, or until no other option is left.
Right. Point made. Appreciate your time, MMC Jean-Pierre J.P. Smith, Western Cape Safety and Security, MMC. There you are. Another whole opinion on that story. I wonder what you make of that. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Utsila.
Thank you, Ashraf. In the headlines, the Office of the Auditor General says it's considering the request from the Umkhonto we Sizwe Party to investigate the financial implications of the budget speech postponement last month. Postbank says it's close to finding a solution to ensure that social grant beneficiaries who are bedridden are able to acquire a Postbank card. And the Border Management Authority says goods trucks and travellers at the Groblersdal Bridge border post outside Lephalale in Limpopo have been redirected to other border posts due to flooding. Details at 5 o'clock with Greg House.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 northbound in Bedfordview queuing on the link to the N12 east at Gillies interchange. In KZN, the N2 southbound has a stationary vehicle before the M41 gateway exit, and Umgeni Road is slow moving towards Springfield Park. In the Eastern Cape on the N10, a truck crash reported on Olifantscourt Pass. You asked to expect delays and diversions. In Cape Town, Kloofneck Road outbound in Tamboerskloof is slow moving through the area. And Victoria Road outbound is slow moving through Woodstock. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Okay, Tumi, South Africa in action, and the key word is action. In Lahore, in the semi-final of the Champions Cup, right? Champions Trophy.
Champions
Too many names of champion. Okay, go for it.
Well, South Africa are currently on 104 for 1. This is after 17 overs. They need 259 runs in 32 overs to win. Themba Bavuma and Rassie van der Dussen at the crease. And van der Dussen is sitting on 38 with Bavuma 2 runs short of a half century, and we'll keep you up to date with that one. But still staying and talking about the Champions Trophy, India coach Gautam Gambhir has lashed out at critics of his team for playing every game in Dubai after beating Australia by 4 wickets in the Champions Trophy semi-finals. India will face South Africa or New Zealand in the final on Sunday in Dubai, and they remain unbeaten with 4 victories at the Dubai International Stadium, while other teams have had to travel between 3 Pakistani cities and Dubai. But Gambhir says that Dubai is just a neutral venue for them as it is for any other team, and that they train at the ICC Academy, not at the stadium where they play games, and the conditions are 180 degrees different. In football, Mamelodi Sundowns coach Miguel Cardoso and midfielder Lucas Ribeiro Costa won the coach, player and goal of the Betway Premiership February monthly awards. The Brazilian international was involved in 8 goals for his side through finding the back of the net 5 times and orchestrating them 3 assists. In addition to being voted the best player of the month, Ribeiro's solo run and Sundowns win over Orlando Pirates in Tshwane was voted the best goal of the month, marking Ribeiro's 2nd successive award in the category after winning it in the January period. In the meantime, Sundowns coach Cardoso says that the upcoming FIFA international break can be a potential hazard if the load on players is not well managed.
As much as we believe in all of them, they are not all equal. They are not all equal. And obviously that we have players that go for national teams, and they have also to perform in the national teams because they also want to be there. They also want to be there. So we need to have a good communication. We need to give them as much rest as possible. I said last time, and I keep repeating it, training less now is training more. Training less is training more.
Well, Sundowns face Golden Arrows tonight, hoping to go 21 points clear of Orlando Pirates, who are their nearest rivals in the Betway Premiership. And Cardoso believes that they will have their work cut out against a team that has recently appointed Manqoba Mngqithi as their head coach. Elsewhere, Barcelona winger Lamine Yamal will extend his contract with the La Liga club beyond 2026. The 17-year-old who won the 2024 Golden Boy Award to cap off a year in which he helped his country win the European Championship has scored 11 goals and provided 16 assists in 35 appearances in all competitions this season for Barca. Finally, in tennis, Carlos Alcaraz is looking to become just the 3rd man to win 3 straight titles at Indian Wells. Alcaraz is seeded 2nd behind Germany's Alexander Zverev, who finished runners-up at the Australian Open, to Italian world number 1 Jannik Sinner. The Spaniard could face a formidable quarterfinal test in Djokovic, who owns 5 Indian Wells titles overall. Djokovic leads their career head-to-head 5-3, and if he can get past him, then he might just win his 3rd straight title. Just keeping you up to date with South Africa so long, 106 for 1, and now Bavuma just 1 run short of a half century.
I have to tell you something. In the 18th over, New Zealand were 101 for 1. And South Africa were 103 for 1. Thought I'll just tell you that.
Yeah.
Okay. With a smile.
Okay.
Pause 14 an hour.
Dr. Nikki Alexander, Dr. Thomas Chamberlain, and Dr. Jack Hodgson form a dedicated team of forensic pathologists who try to work out how and why the victim died. This series sees Nikki investigate a murder that's a carbon copy of a case from her past. She soon suspects that the killings are personal to her. But who will believe her? Meanwhile, Jack creates tension when he finds himself aligned with a police complaints investigator over the accidental shooting of a girl by armed police. And a seemingly random killing in the remote countrysides leads Nikki and Jack into the dangerous underbelly of a criminal world. This is Silent Witness, Thursdays and Fridays at 10 p.m. Starts 20 February only on S3. Open up.
Outsurance knows South Africans are feeling the pinch, so you've been looking for ways to save money. You could cut corners with things like that coffee brand you love. Or you could go the easy way, where you could save money on your car insurance. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Let's hear what real Outsurance clients have to say.
I saved 455 Rand. It was quick and easy.
I'm saving 411 Rand a month. Outsurance helping me save money.
That saving is actually saving my paycheck. Leave all the insurances and come to Outsurance.
It was fast, easy, and he gave me the best quote.
My savings is 644 Rand. Come join our insurance and save some money.
Make today the day you switch and save. And SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
This Human Rights Month, SAFM is deepening a culture of social justice and human rights. It's a time to reflect, engage, and take action for a more just society. From thought-provoking discussions to powerful stories, SAFM is leading the conversations that move us. Because your voice matters, your rights matter, and together we shape a better future. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
All right, we're going to get to your calls shortly. You know that every day, 10 to 4, 10 to 4, 10 to 5, and then from around 5:45, we take all your calls, WhatsApps in one long bracket, which allows us to have more opportunities to engage with you. And that's really what we want. How else do we really know what your pulse tells you, right? In the meantime, the G20 Anti-Corruption Working Group technical meeting has kicked off in the Western Cape. It started on Monday. It runs until today. Global leaders are convening to tackle critical anti-corruption strategies. Discussions will focus on 3 key areas: strengthening public sector integrity, enhancing asset recovery, and promoting inclusive participation. Now, this meeting marks a key step towards global accountability. A message by the Department of Public Service and Administration.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
And let's get to those numbers with Makwe Masilela, the Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers, local and global markets in a moment. But you got some news about Cash Build, Makwe.
Yes, Ashraf, afternoon to you and to the listeners. Remember, Cash Build are selling directly, mainly to cash-paying customers based through their 318 stores. And since the formation of the GNU, coupled with the moderate inflation and interest rates, consumer sentiment has improved, leading to an uptick in demand. Hence, revenues up 5%, profits as headline earnings per share up 4%, and their stock holding days improved to 88 days from 90 days, and the selling price inflation at 1.5%. But traders were not excited, hence the share price is down 5%. And Ashraf is not surprising that Trump, after introducing fresh tariffs yesterday, which rattled the global market sentiment that he could change the tone and come with a compromise. And market participants also paying attention to the potential reform of Germany's contagious debt brake system. That is, the fiscal rules of Germany will be reformed to allow higher defense and infrastructure spending, and also getting the boost, from China's stimulus measures. But the latest U.S. jobs data, which was weak, exacerbated concerns about the U.S. economy. Locally, even though PMI edged up to 49 in February from 47.4 in January, any number below 50 indicates that our private sector is still under pressure. The recovery is mainly because of improved demand and resumption of projects. And as if that was not enough, after getting yesterday's Q4 GDP, which rose marginally, unions rejected the Transnet CPI-based wage offer and threatened to strike. And oil prices falling for a third day in a row. Traders worried about OPEC Plus plans to proceed with output increases in April, and also the escalation of trade tension. Brent crude is down 2% at $69 a barrel. And uncertainty, Ashraf, is food and water for gold, and hence the bias on prices is to the upside. But today, profit taking has kicked in, and gold is down 0.5% at $2,903, but platinum is up 0.3% at $964. Global markets rebounding today, with the GSE recovering almost all of yesterday's losses. We are up 0.9%, with our resources doing most of the heavy lifting, up 1.6%, and the rand firmed 0.3% against the US dollar. We are now at 18.40, 23.61 against the pound, but we weakened almost 0.4% against the euro. Now it's 19.42.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Makwe. We'll connect with you again tomorrow. Makwe Masilela, right? Let's get to the cricket score, 118 for 1 in the 21st over, chasing 363 runs to beat New Zealand. So that curve has to go upwards now dramatically, so for South Africa to keep in touch and not lose wickets in that semi-final.
Are we ready for a real conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, we'll take your calls shortly, but in the meantime, the ANC's KZN task team briefed the media today on the outcomes of the inaugural meeting. You know the drama about all of that. There's been huge issues around the rejuvenation of both the ANC KZN as well as Gauteng, right? So the ANC's KZN task team convener is Jeff Radebe, and he made the point about the organization being committed to change and to dealing with issues like corruption and factionalism.
We have always, and we have, as this new leadership, recommitted ourselves to the founding principles of renewal to rebuild all our structures. We will lead by example, and the decisions of the ANC and all its constitutional structures have been reaffirmed by our Secretary General, Comrade Fikile Mbalula, when he addressed us here in Durban last Tuesday. We have to be honest with the people of KwaZulu-Natal that we face an existential threat which requires all of us to take drastic measures to turn things around. This collective, it aims to ensure that we bring back our people home to the ANC.
Bring them home to the ANC is a key phrase, I would think, right? Radebe also spoke about the task team and its leadership role.
We have always, and we have, as this new leadership, recommitted ourselves to the founding principles of renewal to rebuild all our structures. We will lead by example, and the decisions of the ANC and all its constitutional structures have been reaffirmed by our Secretary General, Comrade Fikile Mbalula, when he addressed us here in Durban last Tuesday. We have to be honest with the people of KwaZulu-Natal that we face an existential threat which requires all of us to take drastic measures to turn things around. This collective, it aims to ensure that we bring back our people home to the ANC.
Now, what about the how in bringing them home? The ANC's KZN task team coordinator is Mike Mabuyakulu, and he said this.
People-centered and people-driven. We are committed and we are committing ourselves that at everything we do, we are going to put our people first. We will serve our people within the structures of the movement at a branch level, at a zonal level, at a regional level, at a provincial level. We will do so as well where we serve in government. So the new approach is that we are actually going to be lifting the issues of the people and driving those issues. And I want to say, therefore, to the question, how do you restore faith? We're going to restore faith through our actions. And we are clear we will lead as the ANC leadership and the collective. We are going to lead with unity, and I want to practice unity in action. And that we have agreed that each and every one of us are going to be accountable to one another. And we are setting up mechanisms of accountability and how we are going to be reporting the work we are doing amongst our people. So we are very clear, we have a plan, but we also have a program. Not just a plan, but we have a program that we are going to be embarking upon going forward. So we are satisfied that the work we have decided we are going to do will be able to restore us back into the hearts and the minds of our people. Of course, every South African has a right to listen to our message and has a right not to listen to our message.
I can tell you now we've lost a wicket, and that is of the captain, Bavuma. So 125 for 2. He went out for 52, trying to go for a big hit. Understandably so. It's important now that South Africa holds on and doesn't lose another quick wicket. That's in the 23rd over, 125 for 2 against New Zealand. Back to the politics of the day. Interesting, Jeff Radebe concedes there's been issues of residents being denied basic service delivery. And listen to this word that he used to describe councillors.
That we've already studied, as the coordinator has alluded to, in looking specifically at all our municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal. Thus far, we've found out that 40 out of 54 municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal have been described by National Treasury as municipalities facing serious financial problems. And that in the financial year 2023-2024, 8 leading municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal, they failed to spend 7.5 billion rand of their adjusted budget. And that 2.6 billion rand of capital works has not been spent. What does this mean? It means that our people in KwaZulu-Natal are being deprived by useless councillors of not spending budgets that have been appropriated in law.
Okay, you got that phrase now? Useless councillors. You may want to quote it. It comes from the ANC about the ANC. Right, I'll get to your thoughts. Let's get to your calls. I want to feel what your pulse tells you after this.
Andile, the CEO of a multinational corporation, is driving home with his daughter.
Dad, why is the Tooth Fairy so stingy?
Stingy? Well, she makes sure everyone gets something.
Does everyone at your company get something?
Yes, they're covered by Old Mutual Corporate's employee benefits.
Even Abdul.
Of course, he gets retirement benefits.
And Sisampo on that big machine.
She gets group risk cover if that big machine hurts her.
Wow, that's amazing, Dad.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
The Seagulls want to play their hearts out to secure maximum points on home soil.
And Pedro could be in here. Pedro's one-on-one. João Pedro! That is impeccable.
Meanwhile, the Cottagers understand the power of 3 points. They want a comfortable top half position.
Back in, Ralph. Yes! It's been coming. What a piece, and we deserve that, Fulham. That's a great finish from Raul. It was a great move.
This is the Premier League. Experience the spectacular action between Brighton and Hove Albion FC and Fulham FC. The Saturday 8 March at 4:30 p.m. Live on S3. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Hi everyone, I'm Dean McPherson, the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. In the State of the Nation reply, I announced that we're releasing 31 state-owned properties for redevelopment that will generate 10 billion rand in investment and create 165,000 new jobs. These public-private partnerships will help us realize our dream to turn South Africa into a construction site. To achieve this, the department in 2025 will be leveraging reforms in infrastructure development through Infrastructure South Africa, release requests for proposals to redevelop our small harbours, which will create tens of thousands of new jobs, as well as reforming the expanded public works program to ensure it becomes a genuine stepping stone to permanent employment. We are accelerating efforts to get more cranes in the sky and more shovels in the ground. Our department is working for you and with you to build a better South Africa for the future.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Okay, let's get to your thoughts. Churchill in Umtata, you're opening the innings, I should say. Let's your thoughts on AfriForum.
Yes, Ashraf. Hey, Ashraf,
I was itching to call. I was listening to this guy who is actually saying that there's a lot of bad things that are done against white farmers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really sad to listen to such people. There is no South African government that is supporting murder, as you rightfully said.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not a position of government. Murder is murder. And there are laws in this country. You know, when people are murdered, they should lay charges. There is no black government that is supporting that. There is no government in this country that is actually supporting murder in any form, be it against white people, be it against black people.
Well, I agree with you completely. Can't disagree with you. And I wonder where, that story gets spun around and people believe that sort of thing is the actual truth. I mean, there's just too many murders. You don't have to even bring in the race and not even the occupation. Thanks for that, Churchill. Anonymous in Cape Town, go for it.
Hi, man. I don't know if you... Firstly, I disagree with the traffic officer that was online now at 4:30. And secondly, I don't know if you're aware, here in Cape Town, more than 10 taxis get impounded a day, and that is 10,000 rand release fee, which means if you multiply 10,000 multiplied by 10 is 100,000, multiplied by 5 days is 500,000, multiplied by 4 weeks it's 2 million rand that the city gets from impounding taxi drivers.
And why are they impounded? I mean, what's the reason?
I think they don't give them the papers that they need. And when they don't get the papers, people need to work. Instead of doing crime, they need to work so that they can provide for their families. Yeah. But if you can impound their cars, you make more money than giving them permits. Yeah. Because you make 2 million rand a month. That is on average. I'm sure if someone does the research, they probably make more than that. Yeah.
Okay, point taken. And then the MMC we spoke to earlier on, I mean, who responded to the Santako comments, you said you don't agree with him. What don't you agree with?
I mean, it can result to strangling someone, and I think that feels like torture. I mean, I can imagine if it was someone strangling me and you would close to near death. Then
no, he said it's normal. He says it's what they do. It's part of their plan. And they won't die. They'll just lose consciousness. I'm amazed.
If someone have a panic attack and while you're strangling them, then they die in that process. There's a possibility that someone can die. Are they going to say sorry to the family, or are they going to pay them money, or how are they going to replace that person?
Yeah, point taken. Okay, got that, Anonymous in Cape Town. And what I like, I mean, just think about it. You could say Johannesburg, Umtata, Cape Town, Durban, all around the country. We got you covered. Michael in Durban, go for it.
Yes, how are you?
Yeah, good, Michael. What's your point?
Also, one point against the JP Smith, the MMC for safety in Cape Town.
Yeah.
That what they are doing is very dangerous. There is no instrument or there is no measurement that says if you exert such restraints, a person won't die. It's not proven anywhere, not unless they've got something that they had. But as a healthcare worker, if someone is on medication, let's say, for example, if they do this to you and you're on hypertensive medication or BP, you can die with the slightest action that against you. You can faint. And then what would be the excuses?
Well,
to the family?
I'd love to know whether people have died. I mean, he was very confident. He said, this is the way it works, and it's absolutely fine. Okay, I did find it strange. Michael, thanks for that. Akona in Cape Town also wants to talk about the taxi drivers. Go for it, Akona.
Good day, Ashraf, and thank you for taking my call.
Thank you.
Ashraf, I'd like to comment on the excessive force that was used by the police officers.
Right.
They can use, like today, the stronghold that render the person to lose conscious.
Yeah.
And I'd like to question that even last year, towards the end of last year, a taxi driver lost his life at the hands of the law enforcement. And there are videos all over social media where taxi drivers have been assaulted by traffic officers. You can just go to your TikTok and find out. As a commuter in Cape Town, we experience daily the abuse that is dictated to taxi drivers by traffic officers. For example, today, early this morning, on my way to work.
So if a traffic driver, if a driver breaks the law, drives on the shoulder of the road, and then gets stopped and then tries to not be apprehended, what should then the police do against it?
Firstly, could be applied to try to get the person to cooperate. I mean, there were two law enforcement, well-trained law enforcement officers at the scene, trying to strangle a person to almost lose conscious. But as I was making a story about it this morning, two traffic officers stop about 6 taxis, attending to take it all the way to work. Early hours, in a rush hour, two traffic officers stopped 6 taxis, and the drivers were panicking. We just calmed them down. Just the abuse they ran at, and this guy was talking about empowerment. That's a daily thing. There is a backlog on permits in the Western Cape. The Tax Association has been taking the Western Cape government to court about the backlog on permits. And these people are sitting at desks because they take this taxi on loans and on credit. So that's the issue that they are facing with. J.B. Smith is the one who's militarizing the law enforcement against the traffic officers. And this thing might lead to retaliation of things, as what happened yesterday evening when taxi drivers tried to gang up against traffic officers.
Okay, I think you've raised your point. I'll tell you what, about the regular occurrences. I'm going to get Keys and Tempo just to make a note of this thing and see if we can follow that up. Thank you for that. There's time for more calls. We'll not now. We'll take them later on from around 5:45 onwards. There's a whole range of calls we can take, so please look out for that, right? Let's get the news now. It's 5 o'clock. Here's Greg House.
Thank you, Ashraf. AG speaks on budget postponement probe and truck transporting elephants overturns. Good day to you. The Office of the Auditor General says it's considering a request from the MK Party to probe the financial implications of the budget speech postponement that took place last month. This after the party wrote to the Auditor General requesting an investigation, claiming the budget delay has cost the country millions of rands and contributed to fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Harold Maloka is the head of communications at the AG's office.
It is important to note that the AGSA conducts annual regulatory audits on the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa and all government departments. If any material irregularities are identified during the audits, they are reported in the audit reports of these institutions, which are tabled publicly in Parliament. It is equally important to note that the AGSA will continue to carry its constitutional mandate in a fair manner without fear, favour or prejudice on all its audits.
The Post Bank says it's close to finding a solution to ensure that social grant beneficiaries who are bedridden are able to acquire a Post Bank card. This as the bank is administering the process of grant beneficiaries migrating from the SASSA Gold Card to the Post Bank Black Card. Post Bank officials are appearing before Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Social Development to give an update on the migration process. CEO Nikim Bengashe.
We're working with SASSA on this one because remember, it is something that SASSA offered a long time ago that you can go and register through their system. They verify you and they then say whether you qualify for bedridden. There is one challenge because now in banking there's security in terms of or how you send these cards and everything, but we're working. We believe we're coming to a solution.
Sandparks in the Eastern Capes confirmed that a truck which overturned blocking the N10 road was transporting 4 elephants from the Addo National Elephant Park to the Samara Karoo Reserve near Graafrenet. It says they are monitoring the elephants, which all appear to be unharmed. They intend to reload the animals into another truck to complete their journey. The Border Management Authority says goods, trucks and travellers at the Groblersbridge Bridge border post outside Lephalale in Limpopo have been redirected to other border posts due to flooding. Operations at 4 other small ports of entry in the area have also been suspended. The authorities' Costa Motobele.
We have to allow the assessment team to come and assess the damage caused by the floods, and then also the assessment team from Sanral, they have to come and assess the bridge, whether the bridge will be able to carry, the cargo to use the same bridge, because that bridge was built in 1936. So it's too difficult for us as a BMA to predict when will be resumed the operations. But for now, in terms of, clearing of cargo, we have diverted some of the cargo to go to Northwest border posts, namely Skelpatsek, Kopfontein, and then also Ramataba.
The National Health Department says it's put measures in place to ensure that patients receiving TB and HIV treatment don't default. This follows a cut in foreign aid from the US. The department says it will also consult with NGOs affected by the termination of funding from the US President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, or PEPFAR. The department's Ramalani Morawani.
PEPFAR was in 27 priority districts of the country, what you used to call highly burdened districts in terms of HIV/AIDS prevalence. Now, the impact is felt that way, and the response we're getting from the ground is also that there are areas where people would perhaps complain of having stayed too long in the queues. But what we did immediately after knowing this situation, we developed the contingency plans to make sure that nobody gets frustrated and people that are on treatment stop taking treatment. So as far as we are concerned, we are monitoring the situation on the ground, and we are informed of the efforts that have been made to ensure that there's no disruption of services.
The UN's told the government in Bangladesh that the monthly food ration for refugees will be cut by more than half from next month after it failed to find the funds. The BBC's Anbarasan Ehirajan has the story.
Mohammad Mizanur Rahman, the top Bangladeshi official overseeing the Rohingya refugee camps, said food rations per person from the World Food Programme would be reduced from around $12 to $6. Mr. Rahman said what the refugees had been receiving was already not enough, and it was hard to imagine the consequences of the new cut. A WFP official in Cox's Bazar told the BBC that they had failed to find donors so far, and if they could get enough money, they might avoid the cut.
The top story, the Office of the Auditor General says, is considering a request from the MK party to probe the financial implications of the budget speech postponement that took place last month. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Hoos.
In sports, the South Africa 161 for 3, needing 202 runs in 23 overs to win. And the Boks, they're looking to play 15 tests in 2025. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 southbound in Linbro Park is slow moving towards Marlborough Drive. The N3 northbound in Bedford View is queuing on the link to the N12 east at Kilolese interchange. In KZN, the N2 southbound has a stationary vehicle before the M41 gateway exit. Umgeni Road westbound is slow moving through Springfield Park, and Old North Coast Road is closed just north of Columbine Place. In the Eastern Cape, on the N10, a truck crash reported on Olifantscoop Pass. You are to expect delays and diversions. In Cape Town, the M5 southbound slow moving towards Cromboom Road exit. The M3 southbound is slow moving towards Rhodes Drive, and Victoria Road is slow moving through Camps Bay. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.6 FM in Palabora.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices can make our children sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, which could lead to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they age. We must protect them from drinks high in sugar. Demand a stricter health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
The pressure is mounting in the second half of the league. Both SC Freiburg and RB Leipzig refuse to bow. They want to triumph to protect their top half positions. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Experience the German way of the beautiful game. Sporting Club Freiburg versus RB Leipzig on Saturday, 8 March at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
You are listening to The Chill Zone with Bertha Charuma.
When it's a male who makes the money, we don't seem to have much of a problem. You know, as a wife, as a girlfriend, you kind of like go along. He gives you petty cash to do what you need to do. But when it is now the woman who makes money, and to try and give your partner pocket money, it almost feels as though we're breaking the rules.
We all grew
up with a certain understanding of what a man is. We all grew up with a certain understanding of what it is that makes a man a man. So here you are, the thing that you assert and say, this is what makes me a man. I pay the bills in this house. I do A, B, and C. All of a sudden, you can't do that. You are no longer that guy.
Our relationship coach and author Linda Yende.
Bertha Charuma on SAFM.
Well, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, Sunday World keeps you updated. Get breaking news, sports action, and exclusive celeb scoops at your fingertips. Read it, stream it, listen to it. Sunday World. News for all, anytime, anyway.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
So an update on the cricket score. South Africa now 163 for 3 after 27.2 overs. By the way, New Zealand at the same stage of 161, but the key part, they had only 1 wicket down. So 3 wickets, we onto the 5th one, and the player that went out a few minutes ago was Rassie van der Dussen, of course, was leading the attack, and he was bowled. Absolute beauty from centre. Just a really wonderful ball, but I'd hate to say that, but that's what happened. And before that, Tema Bavuma went out just after getting to his 50. So 2 new batsmen need to rebuild the innings. Talking about rebuild, what about rebuilding lives? Because there's been a horrific story in the Free State with a horror crash between a truck and a bus around 10 o'clock today. The crash took place in the early hours of the morning, 15 kilometers south of Reddingsburg, and I understand that 7 women, 3 men have been killed and 27 others injured. It's not a type of story you want to talk about, but sadly we do. Sipho Towa is with me, the district manager for the Free State EMS Control Center. Sipho, thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Hi, Ashraf. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I did mention in the intro, this is not the type of stories that you want to be talking about, but we have to anyway, right? Tell us, have you got an update on that story? I mean, we've got down 7 women, 3 men, so 10 people have died, right?
That's affirmative, Ashraf, yes.
Yeah. Well, what more can you tell us about this horrific incident?
Ashraf, so such incidents, we normally see them. They happen before dawn. And it's also worrisome that those are the times when we know on the road expecting that it should be quiet, and then we get woken up by a call that there's a truck and a bus that has collided, and the bus is loaded with passengers. So those are the things that the trade of our industry is.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's those are the times that we're expecting the road should be quiet and people are getting ready to be on the road.
You speak about a collision. Can you tell us more? Do you have more information about what actually happened?
We were activated at about 3:50 a.m. this morning. And on arrival, we found that the truck has collided with a bus, and it looked like a side impact where both sides of the drivers collided. And then, unfortunately, in the bus, there's 10 passengers that lost their lives. And then there's a number of those injured we suffered critical injuries. And then the other 3 had moderate injuries, and the rest were light injuries, who majority of them has been discharged from the hospital now after examination and all that. So, we're saddened by the loss of lives there.
And any update on those who are critical?
They're doing well. They're doing well. I just spoke about 30 minutes ago. I spoke to our trauma unit. The patients are stabilized, and they're doing quite well as well.
Okay. And of course, there's so many others that are injured, right? What happens now? What kicks in from your side, from the EMS Control Center, in terms of attending to the occasion as you've done, or to the accident, and then support for the survivors, and then, of course, the families that get there?
Yeah, from our side, we actually hand over to a health facility, which is the hospitals, and then the hospitals, then they start
searching for information, and with this, because it's a passenger bus, so there's a list of our next of kin contacts there, so we start contacting to verify who are the passengers who are there, and then we start contacting their next of kin. We're also getting calls because with the media coverage of this incident, where family members are asking if where can they find their family next of kin as well. So, and then we also ensure that there should be psychological support for the crews that attended this incident as well, because these are things that we don't see on day to day.
And, we were speaking earlier on about, just the poor quality of, in some cases, some taxis. Any idea the makes of the buses and the condition of the bus as well as the other car too, between the two?
I think the other thing that we miss, because in terms of roadworthiness and all that, I don't see any where I can fault, but there needs to be that intense investigation as well. But from the look of things, from my medical background, I don't see where I can fault. But we forget about the roadworthiness of the drivers. I mean, the wellness of the drivers from the health point of view. And it's one of the concerns that we always have. That's why most of the time in the Free State, when they hold this campaigns on roadwork, we normally say, arrive alive and healthy. People are with chronic medication and they don't take enough rest. And when you start being on chronic medication, you have time to rest as well, to allow your medication to can work on you. So another concern that I can raise is healthy drivers, how healthy our drivers are.
Yeah. I suppose, linked to that is the obvious issue of falling asleep, right? To what degree are you able to enforce that? Because if it's a bus and it's a truck, then both are effectively commercial vehicles, right? How do we enforce that they have to understand, I'm talking of the companies that hire them in the first place, that there's certain things they cannot do?
I think it comes back to what do we say in terms of from law enforcement point of view? Or why don't we bring back that enforcement that certain vehicles are not allowed to travel at this time? I think that's how things were in the past. And then I think also most of the goods were transported via rail then. So it's one thing that it's a cry out there from us as emergency services that let's relook at that. And then on top of that as well, it's the way this accident occurred, it's a straight stretch of road, a very beautiful road, and there were no weather conditions that were adverse or anything. So, it comes to that issue that is it really important to push that we drive throughout the night? When you look, I always make an example with such incidents. When you look at when you're traveling by plane from Bloemfontein to Cape Town, it's 1 hour 40 minutes, then you land, and there's two pilots. And now when you look at these taxis or these buses, you rarely find that there's two drivers or there's two. There's only one driver there.
Okay. All right. Anything else you'd like to say? If not, then we'll wish you well. Anything else you'd like to add?
Just our deepest condolences to those who lost their loved ones through this gruesome accident, and then we will continue also striving for awareness and ensuring that people that are traveling on the roads are healthy and safe.
Okay, appreciate your time on this very sad day. Sipho Toa, the District Manager for the Free State EMS Control Centre, reflecting on that Free State horror crash between a truck and a bus, 10 people dying, 27 others injured as well. All this in the very, very early hours of the morning. There's drama in the cricket. South Africa's lost another wicket, and the key one of Henry Klaasen out for 3. He also tried to hit out. Clearly the spinner Santner has picked up 2 wickets in very short time, and that means now South Africa 167 for 4 in the 29th over. Key to that now is from the win predictor. It's 94% in favour of New Zealand, 6% in favour of South Africa. Let's talk about education matters now. The Basic Education Minister, Siviwe Gwarube, addressed the issue of the branded desks in Parliament. Remember the issues of McDonald's and all the other companies too? That's during the debate on international mother language. This is what the Minister said.
However, on the issue around the Department of Basic Education partnering up with corporate partners, I want to say to the members in this House, the reality is that that's something that we cannot shy away from. There are 13.5 million learners, the 24,000 schools, and the kind of budget that we have in the system, we simply cannot meet the demand. Therefore, we have to partner with private partners. However, where I agree with the honorable member and the criticism around how some corporate partners advertise with products in schools is that we must have a policy that says how do we manage the kind of branding and advertisements that happen in schools in a way that doesn't harm the learners but assists us with the gap. But I must point out that the future of partnerships, particularly corporate partnerships, is here, because ultimately government cannot meet the demand that our schools and our learners have. And I take the point, though, around branding and protecting learners in particular from harmful branding exercises. Thank you.
Okay, I think it's a very, very honest comment from her, effectively saying what we've been saying all month, really, on the National Pulse, that every time we speak to a department, they say, we don't have the money. So in effect, if business is able to bring the money, which allows then the learners to get the type of things they need, in this case desks, then that's great. And I would agree with her. She also conceded there could be issues about the branding. I think it's not just whether the branding is harmful, and maybe this is the part she didn't say. It can't be so in your face. I mean, the McDonald's one is like completely in your face. So, you know, there's the thing of good branding and bad branding. When it's completely in your face, then it becomes counterproductive. And maybe that's my advice, certainly to those that want to support. Please do, but it needs to be done very tastefully. Basically what I'm saying, you can't be in a school class thinking you're in a McDonald's store. That makes any sense to you?
A convicted murderer on death row, a vicar in a quiet English town, and a maths teacher trapped in a cellar cross paths in the most unexpected way. Jefferson Grief is on death row in an American prison for brutally murdering his wife. But it turns out that Grief has a gift. He can solve crimes from inside his cell. English journalist Beth Davenport needs Grief's help. Janice, a woman who recently helped Beth, has gone missing. The last Beth heard from Janice? A text with a blurry image of a man lunging towards the camera. Will Grief crack the case in time? Exactly how is Janice's local vicar involved? And is it really possible to solve a crime before it is committed? Tune into Inside Man, Monday to Wednesday at 9 p.m. Starts 12 February only on S3. Open up.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a clean sweep of sorts. Now, I'm not talking cricket. I'm talking about what's happening in the city of Joburg. So much has been spoken about that city recently, and one of the issues has been just the rankant issue of lawlessness, undocumented foreign nationals, and, of course, hijacked buildings. Now, I understand now today has seen the launch of Operation Nomakanjani Manje Namhlanje. We speak now to the MMC for Public Safety in the city of Joburg, and that's Dr. Mqini Chwaku. Thank you for your time, MMC. Appreciate your time.
Good afternoon. I forgot your name.
Well, it's Ashraf. As long as you don't forget the issue.
Ashraf Garda. Sorry, Ashraf.
That's okay. As long as you don't forget what happened today, because that's what we want to know, right?
I'm so tired because we're working the whole day today.
Okay. What happened? Tell us what happened.
No, Ashraf, no, thank you very much. Good afternoon to yourself and the listeners. No, Ashraf, today we've launched Nomakanjani Manje Namhlanje. It was around last year, if I still remember quite well. Okay, it was an operation just to enforce this bylaw and crime prevention. Okay, so we took a bit of a break, not a break per se, but we didn't do much because we're in the process of hiring the chief of police. You know, obviously, when you're embarking on those processes, there's a lot of contestations, and there was sort of like a I can say, destabilization in the organization. But now, since we've appointed the chief of police, Jaga, he's going to be installed now as a commissioner of Johannesburg on the 3rd of April. Now I said to you guys, though, everyone must go back to be directors. Everyone must be there. Let's work now, guys. So today, it's one of those beginning of the main thing of this is to deal with the one with the crime lawlessness inside the city,
Mm-hmm.
and then also to do the buildings, these hijacked buildings.
So can you then give us some bullet points about key happenings today? What happened?
Okay, today what we did, our main focus now was on the crime prevention with the relationship with Xolani. Remember, he was from Xolani Kumalo. So he's been our eyes and ears on the ground in terms of what's happening in the city. So we did a crime prevention. We've raided a building, it's actually a street, like in Hillbrow, where it is a hotspot of the crime of the drugs. And then there's a building around there, it's called Cape Agulhas. It's owned by a white guy, he's overseas, but we managed to get the bank account where he's putting the money and everything, and it's hijacked. And there's a lot of there's a drug manufacturing inside there. So we've managed to find also illegal pills that have been there that are not registered with SAPRA. We've got tobacco that has been imported from outside. We've got some drugs as well, crystal meth and everything. So, and also what we've seen that in terms of the crime profiling now on the ground is that a majority of the criminal activities are done by the undocumented foreigners. So we've embarked in saying that everyone must be documented in the city of Johannesburg. You cannot be in South Africa without being documented. You have to go to the Home Affairs. So we're happy with the Home Affairs. They came in numbers. And then a lot of people that were undocumented were taken by the Home Affairs to be processed, to embark on their own processes. We were not even men, Ashraf. I was just doing it as a, okay, look, operational plan, how we're going to tackle this thing. But there were close to 150 undocumented people that now are sitting with the Home Affairs. It's very simple. No Chanela, no what. We just say, guys, can you guys get in? Do you have documents? No. Home Affairs, can you please process the person?
Okay, and then what happens next? You see, that's the point, isn't it? Once they are, say, arrested, and then Home Affairs gets involved, I think the big issue for many people is like, what happens next? I mean, there must be an absolute follow-through on this.
So the report I got now is that some of them are being processed now at the Hillbrow Police Station. So what the Home Affairs does, they've got a machine where they can track if they're documented or not. And then if they're not documented, they embark to check where they're coming from. Are they, do they have an asylum on everything? Then they approach, they follow their own processes. And if you don't have, then they have to take you back and all those things. But you know what happens. Our borders are really open. They people are going to come. So I said to them, look, check them out, what's happening. A process, do whatever you have to do, with the guys. But some of the majority of the people, they actually been wanted by the police. Others were the criminals. So they were. SEPS now is processing them to check the crime that they've done. Others actually were the people that they were looking for. They were looking for, which were drug runners. Yeah.
I understand as well regarding the hijacked buildings. There, you mentioned the Cape Agulhas, but there are others that were owned by the city and other people. And some of them where there were examples found of people living there, obviously paying rental, but living there illegally because the whole building is owned by somebody else. But some of them had electricity fitted in, and there were illegal electricity. Some of them were cut off. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. The other one is my building, but they actually invaded it before my time. So we went to court.
Your own building, yeah. I mean, I get it.
It's my building, that thing. There's my central fire station, and the other thing is closed. It's gonna fall. So I went there to address them. Gary, no, we want to give an alternative accommodation, but they refused. So we said, okay, we're gonna go to court, and then so that we can ask for evacuation and then put the people there, So, but they didn't want to listen. That building was closed because it's sinking. There's a sinkhole there. So they didn't want to, and then Seri came in and some other bogus lawyers. They came in and interdict me because I'm saying, guys, these are my people. I love them. But the problem is that the building is sinking and the building is been written off. Can we take them out? So that's why I was angry.
So what did Seri say? I mean, so that's it's a Socio-Economic Rights Institute, if I've got it right.
Yeah.
What did they say today?
No, there's those guys there because they really don't want to compromise. I'm telling them that I love my people and I really, really care about them, but I don't want to let them to stay in those dirty buildings and very dangerous buildings. But Seri, they don't want to budge at all. I mean, they are the ones now. I mean, at the Delvers as well, at the Denver there. I'm saying that there are people there who don't have any permits. There's a bylaw that has been infringed there. While I was busy trying to, to remove them, put them somewhere else, probably where we were able to, to clean up the area. They went to court. Now we're interdicted. Now you can see De Villiers is back to the square one, but of course we're appealing that we're not going to really.
But that's all today. You're saying they went to court today. Is that right?
No. This one, that was the incident that happened last week. If you
I understand. Okay, fine. Yeah.
Yeah, but today, the one of today, the highlight is that this is now the third building. We always say the city has got almost 30 buildings only that are bad, but this administration now, we managed to claim, well, I think 3 or 4, but one of them is your motor building, which is very good. Right. Now they're going to go for Venin Court and the other one. But the rest of them, the rest of the buildings are 530 something, right? Those ones are privately owned, and many of the owners, I can tell you right now, they are overseas, and many of the owners are white people. The guy there at the Delvas, there next to MTN Rank, that building, there's a guy staying in Sentin. What he does, he drives a Maserati. And then we did follow him. He drives a Maserati. He drives what he called a Corolla. He goes and parks it at this Houghton Mall. What is this mall here? And then he goes and gets into an Austin Martin. So you've got individuals that are owning buildings. Others are staying at the Bedford View. And they are white people. But there are other buildings, obvious, that have been hijacked.
Well, I mean, whatever, I think you've got a serious case of having to put the fire out. And when I say fire out, I know where you come from. The point is that there has to be absolute control in the city, because, I mean, here's the last thing. I mean, the city has been lost, right? It's like it's gone.
Look, no. Ashraf, let me tell you the honest truth. This is what I'm going to tell the president. It's not all lost. Hey, please, man, please. It's not all lost. Look, there are areas there in the city of Cape Town that are bad, like where you see taxi ranks, right? There are areas in probably on your sunny side in a corner there like that. In the city, the problem is Ward 59 and Ward 23. It's the economic hub, it's the CBD. It's a CBD, but if you go from Gandhi Square, you go up, it has been reclaimed properly. You can see it's very clean. But you guys have a bad narrative of saying that the Joburg is dead.
I would, okay, we're going to have to leave it there. I would love it. Listen, I love my city. I'm from Joburg. I would love it to be in a situation where I can walk and smile and say, you know what, the city is fine. Yeah.
Ashraf, me and you, I've been saying to people, come to public safety, let us drive through the city and say, we agree here, there's a problem. I'll tell you, in this street, we have a problem. It's in court. We are in court. This one is a problem.
Let's do that.
The president
let's do that.
When the president comes, the only thing the president can do is to just put money on the transit accommodation so that all our people who are coming from all the different areas in the Eastern Cape, Limpopo, and other areas, because they want work.
All right.
Let's put them in the transit accommodation and clean the city.
Point taken. I look forward to that journey with you, in fact, right? Let's leave it at that. So much happening in the city of Joburg. Yes, no, what, maybe, if, isn't it? Here's the news headlines with Greg Kroos.
Quick look at the headlines. The Office of the Auditor General says it's considering a request from the MK Party to probe the financial implications of the budget speech postponement. The ANC's task team in KZN says the party will monitor the performance of its members deployed in government and provincial parliament as it continues its renewal process. And the Israeli Prime Minister says he's determined to achieve victory over Hamas in Gaza. A full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 northbound in Sandton has a crash reported before Marlborough Drive. The M1 southbound is slow moving through Crown interchange towards Boysons. The N1 northbound in Pretoria is slow moving towards Rigel Avenue. In KZN, Old North Coast Road is closed just north of Columbine Place. In the Eastern Cape, the N10 has a truck crash reported on Olifantscourt Pass, so expect delays and diversions. In Cape Town, the M5 southbound slow moving towards Racecourse Road exit. The N7 Jakes Hadville Drive southbound queuing at the N2 highway, and the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound queuing towards Hospital Bend. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Chumi, will South Africa play against India in the Champions Trophy final on Sunday?
As things stand, I'm not sure. South Africa currently sitting on 189 for 5 after 33 overs. They need 174 runs in 17 overs to win. They just lost Aiden Markram. Vian Mulder coming to joining David Miller at the crease, and we're really hoping that South Africa will crack it, because 174 runs in 17 overs.
So what needs to happen now? I mean, because they now have lost a lot of wickets. They're falling behind on the run rate as well. What needs to happen now for them to win this game?
They need to get in those runs. They need to perhaps start hitting sixes.
Without losing wickets.
Without losing wickets. Yes, that's a very important one.
So easy. There you go.
Anyway, moving on to rugby, Springboks are looking to add 2 more tests to their 2025 schedule, and will also face the Barbarians in June. The addition to this 13-test schedule has not been confirmed yet, but Rassie Erasmus says that he has made a request to increase the schedule to 15 tests, ensuring players are in camp for 137 days. While details on this are yet to be confirmed, we'll definitely keep you up to date with this one. But Erasmus also says that he is confident that veteran lock Eben Etzebeth will feature for the team in 2025. The 33-year-old has not played since early December due to recurring concussion symptoms, and he's back on the field and is expected to attend the World Champions' first alignment camp of the year in Cape Town from the 7th to the 12th of March as he continues the march to reach a 3rd successive World Cup. Then in football, Mamelodi Sundowns coach Miguel Cardoso says that the upcoming FIFA international break can be a potential hazard if the load on players is not well managed. The Brazilians will likely release 10 or more from their Galaxy of Stars to the respective national teams later this month for crucial World Cup qualifiers, and this is a slight concern for Cardoso. The Portuguese mentor has made it clear that the congested PSL schedule has taken a toll on his squad.
As much as we believe in all of them, they are not all equal. They are not all equal. And obviously that we have players that go for national teams, and they have also to perform in the national teams because they also want to be there. They also want to be there. So we need to have a good communication. We need to give them as much rest as possible. I said last time, and I keep repeating it, training less now is training more. Training less is training more.
Well, Sundowns face Golden Arrows tonight, hoping to go 21 points clear of Orlando Pirates, who are their nearest rivals in the Betway Premiership. Meanwhile, Liverpool manager Arne Slot says that he's confident that Liverpool have nothing to fear for the Champions League clash against Paris Saint-Germain in the last 16 first leg tonight. Despite past defeats at Parc des Princes in 1997 and 2018, Liverpool head into the tie as one of Europe's most informed teams, having lost just 4 times in the competition this season, with kick-off at 10 p.m. And here's Slot just commenting regarding a lot of people saying that Liverpool is the best team in Europe.
It's a nice compliment to get, but the best team in Europe has to win the Champions League, and we are far away from that, starting with a very difficult game tomorrow, and then all the difficult ones that are coming up because we already know the draw. So I think the best team in Europe at the moment is still Real Madrid because they won this competition last season. And to say, for us, someone else can say something different, but for us to say that, then you first have to win it before you can say this.
In tennis, Carlos Alcaraz is looking to become just the 3rd man to win 3 straight titles at Indian Wells. Alcaraz is seated 2nd behind Germany's Alexander Zverev, who finished runners-up at the Australian Open to Italian world number 1 Yannick Sinner. And should he advance to the quarterfinal, he is going to face the likes of Novak Djokovic, who might just stop him from getting that 3rd straight title at the Indian Wells. Just to keep you up to date, it's drinks in that match between New Zealand and South Africa. South Africa still on 191 for 5 after 34 overs. They need 172 runs in 96 balls to win this one. And Ashraf, before I say goodbye, so today FIFA President Gianni Infantino announced that next year's World Cup final will have a halftime show for the first time in its history.
So who? Taylor Swift? Who's it?
We are here to find out.
Best people didn't realize I follow music. Taylor Swift. Who's the other person?
Maybe Beyonce.
I'm gonna be a
Maybe
Beyonce.
Rihanna.
Yeah. Oh my.
Or maybe Kendrick Lamar.
What about our South African who's won the Grammy last year?
Nah.
You don't
Tyler.
think so? Yeah.
You know what? Anything is possible. Anything is possible. It'll be interesting just to see who's going to perform there.
You see, this is what happens in Made in USA. Listen, just before I let you go, yesterday, and I know there are many Arsenal supporters listening to the show, including Themba Dlamini, the producer of the show, and they would love it if we just, for the heck of it, just repeat the score of last night, because they had a significant result. You want to go? Arsenal, who did they beat? They beat, was it Feyenoord? PSV Eindhoven from Holland. PSV won, Arsenal 7 away from home, right?
Yep.
Biggest victory away from home in a Champions League knockout phase. And I'm only saying this because we know that Arsenal will not win the Premier League. So there are many of you, I'm sure you'll be very happy
Listen,
today.
a lot of people can also say to you, we know that Manchester United will not win the league.
But they know that already. That's like a long time ago. Even the coach said, we'll worry about next season, like Netflix. Yeah. Okay.
Well, with that said, ke nna tumeng kgapele, Modimo ke yo.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
S3 and Lorna Maseko are adding flavor to your Wednesday evenings. Lorna invites you on a journey of discovering new ways of transforming South African pantry staples into delectable and budget-friendly meals. From reimagining traditional South African dishes to infusing global inspirations, Lorna's inventive recipes and seasoned cooking tips inspire creativity and will empower viewers to navigate the kitchen with savvy resourcefulness. Tune into Lorna's Pantry, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
This Human Rights Month, SAFM is deepening a culture of social justice and human rights. It's a time to reflect, engage, and take action for a more just society. From thought-provoking discussions to powerful stories, SAFM is leading the conversations that move us. Because your voice matters, your rights matter, and together we shape a better future. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
So while I've got my eye on the runs, Dudu Ramela's got her eye on the rands. Dudu, what's on the show today?
Thank you so much, Ashraf, and good evening to your listeners. It's results-centric again. Today we speak to Cashbuild as well as Curro because they've both increased revenue, but of course it's more nuanced than that because businesses operated in a tough economic environment. However, they will get into more detail in terms of what's the story that has been revealed through their results. Werner de Jager is CEO of Cashbuild, and we're going to be speaking to Kobus Loubser, CEO of Curro Holdings. And if you visited your favorite store and you were looking for chicken and you didn't find some, we'll try and find out from Isaac Breitenbach, CEO of the SA Poultry Association, what's happening. Is there a chicken shortage in South Africa? We also speak to Vector Logistics, who are leading the way to net zero. That's because they've launched their first fully electric bumper-to-bumper net zero vehicles. They're going to be talking to us about their efforts in making sure that they decrease their carbon footprint. And in our executive lounge feature, it is a Wednesday, we speak to Michelle Jennings. She is CEO of Glue. We're going to be getting more detail in terms of her journey and how she got to be where she is and the team that she leads. David Shapiro is with Sasfin Wealth. He's our market watcher this evening, and we will get in depth in terms of market moves. And that's it from us for now. We're back at 6 p.m. with the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb. It's back to you, Ashraf.
Perfect. Thanks for that. Do the right 6 to 7. Yeah, the MoneyWeb Market Update or SAFM Market Update, followed by Sports with Michael Abramson from 7 to 8. And Sports South African team struggling 198 for 5 in the 36th over.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
Listen, it's not impossible that in cricket, in one-day cricket, you need two players to come together. What is that word? Hou kop, isn't it? come together, don't lose their wickets, and destroy the opposition in 5 overs. It's time for David Miller to do just that. It's a long time. Maybe, just maybe. In fact, Naran Singh saying, Ashraf, I bet my bottom dollar Trump will perform at halftime at the World Cup finals. Naran, I think you're wrong. It has to be Trump and Elon Musk together. It just has to be, right? Okay, let's get to further comments from you on the range of issues we've spoken about, including the chat around the role of the Afrikaners in South Africa with Dr. Louise van Ryn. Listen to that podcast, a really fascinating one. And then the chat, if you tune in late, with Dr. Marwan Baguchi around the plan to effectively renovate, in fact, and not really what it is, right? The whole destroyed Gaza region in Palestine. That podcast is also up, but you can comment on that. And the issues of the buses and the taxis and people dying, and the issues of the hijacked buildings in Joburg. There's just so many issues that moved the national bars. Have we left something out? That issue in Cape Town of that driver who was neck braced or strangled but didn't die. Thank goodness for that. Was a traffic cop. Tony in Joburg, go for it.
Hi, Ashraf. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good indeed. Right, what's your point?
I'm good. Ashraf, a quick one. I mean, I was listening to the gentleman. I think for me, I have a serious problem that there is no amount of operations, whether it's operations today or Operation Chanyela, that is going to solve the problem of the city. I mean, this is not a problem that started yesterday. And for me, where is the permanent solution to this problem? I think that's where we're lacking, because it's just an ongoing problem. I mean, I can go back 5 years ago. They've been going through operation this, operation there, but we are not going anywhere.
I think the permanent issue has got to be, and I've spoken in the past about, I think immigrants bring a lot of diversity to a country. They add serious values. That's one part. But it can't be, open season, right? So that's got the issue of, you have to be documented. They must add value to the country, right? And then the issues of hijacked buildings and others, where they've left it as open season for like 20 years, that just cannot be. You lose your city, you lose your main city in a country, you lose your country. You cannot lose Joburg. It's sort of semi-lost. I said it's lost. The MEC said, no, it's not. You can't lose city. You can't lose Joburg. You have to fight back. So they have to be very strict about it. Yeah. Okay, thanks for that call. I think you've made your point, Tony. Right. More comments. Lebo in Bloemfontein. Go for it.
Good evening, Ashraf.
Good evening. Right, let's talk about the ANC, yeah?
Yes. Ashraf, I just want to say, I agree with the previous caller. This is an old script. We've had all these kind of concepts, renewal, self-correction, collective responsibility, blah, 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 blah. But, fighting corruption and all those kind of things. But, the situation in reality remains the same. There's still a lot of feeding, there's still a lot of mismanagement of finances and all that. And today, not surprisingly, we are sitting with a state, a government, that claims to have run out of money, But this money is also in the pockets of the very same people who are connected to the ANC, We know how many people have been charged in the past, who have been accused of taking or stealing a lot of money or through tenders and all that. And most of them were even connected and linked to the ANC. So this is actually, the situation is not going to be changed in any way by the current generation. I think each and every single soul that is in the ANC at the moment should depart this world before things can change.
Okay,
because this is like a relay. It's a relay, It's principles that are being, given over to the next one and next one and next one.
Let's see what comes out of it, Lebo. As you know, I tell you, Jeff Kadebe's comments, when he actually called his councillors, because the ANC, he called them useless today. If I did that, you'd probably get a whole lot of people calling me and said, don't do that. He called them useless. Something's got to turn around from the ANC. We can't deny that. I know many people in at the advent of democracy naturally voted for the African National Congress as the party that delivered democracy. But surely, sadly, that there's been an erosion of their ability to lead the country. So when Jeff Kadebe calls them useless, sure, we've got issues. Thanks for that, Lebo. Talking about the cricketers, South Africa's lost another wicket. So Mulder's now gone. 201 for 6 in the 37th over. Just 13 overs left. Scored about 160 odd runs. Something dramatic, like truly dramatic, has to happen. Otherwise, we've got a free day on Sunday. I mean, that's what it is. Luvo in Gqeberha, hi.
Hi, Ashraf.
Yeah, good talking to you. Go for it. Yep.
Yes, man. The taxi driver was choked in Cape Town.
Yeah.
By the traffic cop. That's
Yes.
nothing, man. That's nothing, man. You know, the taxi drivers into the whole country, they are the law into themselves. Come here in Eastern Cape and see what they do. The worst thing which I experienced 2 weeks ago was driving through the place called Mthatha. Driving with two of my colleagues because we are all over the show. Guess what? They stopped me because I'm driving an SUV. And Avanza come and stop me by force. I stopped. They asked me, are these passengers? Or are these your families? And then I asked them, what did it do with you? Why? No, if they are family members or people you know, they must use their IDs. Being stopped by the taxi drivers who are wearing reflective vests, everything, they act as if they are cops.
Oh, my goodness.
Something needs to be done, Ashraf.
Well, that's highway road. I mean, that's the point that I just said earlier about the hijacked buildings in Joburg, that we've somehow allowed the law to break down. And that just cannot be. Luvo, thanks for that call. Sure. That is another horrific story. Sajini in Cape Town, go for it. Also want to talk about taxis.
Hi, Ashraf. Yeah, Ashraf, man, I want to talk about the taxis in the Western Cape. Really, they are bullying us on the roads, you know. This thing of driving on the side of the road in a yellow line, and then coming, you not even noticing, you even asking you to over there, just sneaking them in front of you. You see? That, Ashraf, really, I'm still applauding the city of Cape Town to try at least to do something about them.
Okay,
You know?
because I think many say they do it because they feel they can do it. That's why they do it, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah. Sajini?
Yes.
Yeah, I was saying many of these drivers that break the rules, and you've heard the caller just now who said the taxis are stopping other people like you can't be a taxi type of thing, right? They're doing it because they think they can get away with it.
Yeah, they're doing it because they think they can get away with it. That's why I'm saying I am applauding really a city of Cape Town to do something, at least doing something.
All right, but no choking. I mean, really, I'm just saying. Sajini, thanks for that, right? In Kosinati, Natuli saying, hi, SAFM, I wish this show... Sure, how do I respond to this? I wish this show, The National Pulse, is extended with just an hour. So it's 4 hours. We've got time for it. Do I have time for it? I don't know. I suppose you're complimenting us. Thank you for that. But like, really? 4 hours? You know, things work well in small doses. Once it gets to 4 hours, you'll say we don't need extra time. You know, then it's like injury time. Leave it at that. Right. More thoughts, more comments from you after this.
Bafana are taking on Lesotho at the new Peter Mokaba Stadium on the 21st of March 2025 at 6 p.m.
for the FIFA World Cup 2026 qualifier.
Come early, dressed to commemorate Human Rights Day and support Bafana for a chance to win prizes from our host, Limpopo Government and Polokwane Municipality. Gates open at 3 p.m. and tickets start from 70 Rand for adults with special rates available at 40 Rand for children under 12 at all Ticket Pro outlets. If you can't make it to Polokwane, catch the game live on SABC2 at 6 p.m. or visit sabcsport.com. For more details, visit safa.net and Bafana on X and TikTok.
The Seagulls want to play their hearts out to secure maximum points on home soil.
And Pedro could be in here. Pedro's one-on-one. João Pedro! That is impeccable.
Meanwhile, the Cottagers understand the power of 3 points. They want a comfortable top half position.
Back in, Raul. Yes! It's been coming. What a piece, and we deserve that, Fulham. That's a great finish from Raul. It was a great move.
This is the Premier League. Experience the spectacular action between Brighton and Hove Albion FC and Fulham FC. The Saturday 8 March at 4:30 p.m. Live on S3. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
All right, now the G20 Anti-Corruption Working Group technical meeting has been going on in the Western Cape from Monday up to today. In fact, today is the last day. What they've done, global leaders have been convening to tackle critical anti-corruption strategies. Discussions have focused on three key areas: strengthening public sector integrity, enhancing asset recovery, and promoting inclusive participation. This meeting marks a key step towards global accountability. A message by the Department of Public Service and Administration.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk. Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Okay, let's get to some of your comments. So lots of people sending out voice notes. Thank you for that. Try and get to as many as we can. Here's one.
Good afternoon, Ashraf and SFM listeners. Ashraf, taxi drivers and taxi operators have been left for a long time to do as they please. They run the show. Why, if you are a civilized civilian, why do you resist to be arrested? Then, you after that, you just want to be like it's normal. You go on the seat of your car, you drive, and people in the taxi must applaud you for that. No, these guys have been left for a long time to do as they please. I don't see any problem with that. The problem is they've been left for a long time to do as they please. Thanks, James Johannesburg.
Okay, in fact, many people believe that like the sense of the taxi industry asserting itself like they run the show, that cannot be, unless somebody else has got a completely different way of looking at it than I'd like to know, right? I mean, you can't let anybody be in a situation where they dictate what goes on.
Afternoon, Azra. Thank you very much for raising that video. I know it's really disturbing, but for these taxi drivers, Azra, I don't feel sorry for them. They must face the might of the law. They think that they owe the road. They do something that you don't like as drivers. So I think you must face the might of the law. We're sick and tired of this corrupt, for these useless taxi drivers who doesn't have even table manners, who doesn't have how to treat their passengers. So they deserve it. He must be arrested. Give big applause for this law enforcement. Thank you, Patrick Soweto.
Okay, does anybody else have another view? Were you sympathetic to the driver who we say choked? They say like a choke, a neck hold on the person, that he went into unconsciousness. In fact, if you heard the person talking from Cape Town, the MEC is like, they know that there's a systemic way they do it, where the person will fall into unconsciousness. So that's the way to effectively deflate the issue. It's rather bizarre. But do you have sympathy for the person, for the taxi driver?
Hi, Ashraf. Listen to the gentleman when he was trying to defend the taxis when you asking about the safety. Yeah, whether they were bought in 2017, but how many of them were ever serviced since 2017 which are roadworthy? It will be interesting because the majority don't get serviced like the rest of our cars are being serviced.
Well, you see, that's another one, right? And just to add to that, here's Marius from George saying, Hi, hello, Ashraf. Thoroughly enjoying you and your show. Well, thank you so much for that, right? Saying, for me, it feels like more conversations are being had around pressing issues lately regarding the trouble we are in the country. Is this partly because of the GNU, as now issues cannot be hidden as well anymore, Marius? I don't know. I can't speak about last week or last year when I was not on the show. But no, we cover the issues that matter. It's the national pulse. What is it that connects us to the pulse of the nation? That what we're thinking is what we cover. And we try and do that. And if it means problematic stuff, bad news. If it means the Springboks winning the World Cup or the cricketers going to the finals, we cover that too, right? But when it doesn't happen, then we just can't do it. There's lots of comment on the taxi drivers.
Hi, Ashraf. Listen to the gentleman when he was trying to defend the taxis when you asking about the safety. Yeah, whether they were bought in 2017, but how many of them were ever serviced since 2017 which are roadworthy? It will be interesting because the majority don't get serviced like the rest of our cars are being serviced.
Sorry, I played that one again. I can tell you now that there's a seventh wicket. Miller, the person I said is going to play the game of his life. I think it's Miller. No, it's not Miller. Marco Jansen, the 7-foot-tall player, can't be walking tall today. He's out for 3, 212 for 7 in the 38th over. Right, here's another comment about Afriforum.
Hi, Ashraf. I must say that I agree with Joe. I think he's right.
I'm no AfriForum fan, but if you ignore people's concerns for years and years and years and just discount them and tell them that they're racists and they're right-wingers and not listen to their concerns, they're going to go and find an ear that's going to listen. So I'll put this blame squarely at the ANC's feet. You can't ignore people. You have to listen.
Okay, I don't disagree with the principle of what you're saying. You have to listen, even if you don't agree with people. Now, the question is, and we don't know enough, to what degree did the government actually ignore the concerns of AfriForum at the time? Maybe it'll come out.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Unfortunately, the loopholes in our constitution make it possible for divisive groups like AfriForum to do as they wish and defy our government. The constitution also made it possible for the establishment of Orania. So until we solve the loopholes in the constitution, these divisive groups will continue to do as they wish. I'm Bafana Kumalo in Mema.
Thanks, Bafana. I don't need to add to that. I think you may just well have a point.
Good day, SAFM. I'm wondering, there's a caller who said that he doesn't blame AfriForum because the president wouldn't grant them an audience. What makes AfriForum so special that the president must grant them an audience? I mean, if I want to speak to the president right now, does that mean I deserve an audience? Otherwise, I must go and complain to Ibrahim Traore that President Ramaphosa does not want to see me. No one is extra special. These people want to be treated as extra special, and we can't do that. Oratile in Mafike.
Okay, Oratile, here's the last one I can play.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, you know, the mindset of AfriForum is so destructive. Very, very destructive. Because when they say they want Trump to isolate ANC is the government in the GNU. So if Trump isolates ANC, we will remain with DA. Do they want DA to be in government alone? That is their aim there. That is their idea there. It's nonsensical. These people, they're uncivilized as simple as that. They can be educated but uncivilized. Norman from Brixton.
Thanks, Norman. Here's another one. You seem to be condoning what the police did to the taxi driver. As much as we don't agree with the taxi drivers, but we can't condone violence against them. You are pathetic and you need to be reported. From Motswala. I just want to know who you're talking about. Certainly not me. Listen to the entire show, by the way. And the last comment, good day. I'm yet to get a politician, let alone a minister, who has the goal to tell the taxi drivers and owners where to get off and implement the law. The National Pulse, the taxis have driven the National Pulse today. We'll do it again tomorrow. The cricketers are losing at this point, 2:15 for 7. They're in big trouble. I hope I'm wrong, but it looks like we've got the Sunday off. Thanks for listening. We'll do it again tomorrow. Goodbye. Good night. Here's the news with Greg House.
Thank you again, Ashraf. In this news update, AG speaks on budget postponement probe and Israel committed to defeating Hamas. Good evening. The Office of the Auditor General says it's considering a request from the MK party to probe the financial implications of the budget speech postponement that took place last month. The party claims the budget delay cost the country millions.